Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome back to my podcast if you're listening to this episode in the audio version only. My name is Rux, I'm a Western tropical astrologer, and today we are going to be diving into your 2023, January that is, horoscope. Before we do that, let me remind you of a few things, or let me share some things if you're here for the first time that I believe are important for you to know. I'm a Western tropical astrologer, therefore all videos on my channel and all episodes on my podcast will follow Western tropical astrology. In my practice, I use the whole sign house system. If you use a different house system, that is totally fine, that's completely fine. But just so you know, my forecasts are built in such a manner that is aligned with the whole sign house system. I mean, some folks might not know exactly what I'm talking about. This could be a little bit too technical, but I know that there are so many astrology students out there. So I did think it would be useful to know this piece of technical information from me. I also use the whole sign house system in my work with clients. Speaking of work with clients, if you want to work with me one-to-one, if you would like me to dive into your natal chart, to analyze your natal chart, to look at the year ahead together, to maybe share how you can make the most of 2023, how you can capitalize upon the cosmic opportunities, how you can be better prepared for some of the challenges that may lie ahead for you. You can find me on my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. That is writteninthestars-astrology.com. Go straight to the services section there. And if you're a first-time client, I recommend you go straight for the 1-hour live Zoom consultation option. If you're an existing client and you are interested in getting a year-ahead forecast, there is an option called year-ahead forecast for existing clients only. And existing clients also benefit from the 30 minutes follow-up option consultation. I think that's it. That's what I had to share before we start talking astrology. January 2023. Oh, one more thing. Since, like I said, I have seen a huge increase in the amount of people that are learning astrology, that are studying astrology, that are making use of it, that are sharing their astrological knowledge with family, friends, and maybe who are even considering becoming astrologers themselves. On my website, writteninthestars-astrology.com, in the services section, you can also now purchase the recording of the natal chart interpretation masterclass that I ran in the autumn of 2022. This masterclass is over 6 hours long. It is a course that is addressed to those that are looking to refine their natal chart interpretation skills, those who are also looking for a solid framework to utilize when building natal chart analyses. This is not a beginner's course. It is an intermediate to advanced. Maybe advanced students might not necessarily utilize it that much, but it's a course that is really suitable for those who have a foundational understanding of astrology. So they understand signs, houses, planets, and so on, and they're looking to piece it all together. They're looking for synthesis. They're looking for, like I said, a structure, a step-by-step approach and methodology. So you can purchase that course the recorded version on my website as well. January 2023, folks. How insane is this? I don't know where 2022 went. Literally, it went by like this. But I gotta say, I'm quite excited for 2023 to come around because guess what? In spring, I will be wrapping up my first Saturn return and I'm super excited. I might just do like a separate Saturn return update just to kind of like share what I have experienced throughout this period, this rite of passage, this astrological chapter that is so well known. It has even become a part of pop culture. So January 2023, folks, is actually a very good month. I mean, I know some people might say, Rux, You're crazy. What are you talking about? Mercury is retrograde. Mars is still retrograde. Yes, that's true for a portion, for a chunk of January. We do have these two retrogrades happening. But sometimes retrogrades can be useful. They can be useful in helping us solve things, fix things, do things that we postponed, that we said we would do, that we never got around to doing. Fixing, finding solutions, editing, tweaking, polishing. I would say that these are some really important keywords, especially for the first part of January, I dare say until the 18th, 19th of January when Mercury gets out of retrograde. So Mercury went retrograde on the 29th of December and it is going to go out of retrograde on the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where you are in the world. Mars has been retrograde since the end of October and it's going to go direct on the 12th of January. So as Mars goes direct, we are going to probably feel once again, finally, like we have this sort of idea as to where we're headed, this sense of direction. It may feel like our libido is coming back, our motivation is coming back, our passion is coming back. It may feel easier to assert ourselves. It may feel easier to go after what we want. We've had like so much time to think about what we want, to ponder, to analyze things, to kind of like form scenarios in our heads in terms of defining what we desire, what is important to us. We've had a lot of time to also sit with mentally the stuff that makes us angry. And after Mars gets out of retrograde, I dare say that it may be clear. So our mind becomes sharper again. It may be clear as to what we need to do in order to no longer sit on frustration, but rather take action upon it and do something about the situations that we are not happy with, or do something in the direction of getting more of what we want in our life. Now, let's go back to why I think this month is a good month, right? So yeah, we're starting slow. Mars is retrograde until the 12th of January. Mercury is retrograde until the 18th, 19th, but I feel like this is a month when we are solving old problems. We are solving and fixing old issues, sometimes in very, very surprising ways. Maybe we kind of like get a phone call from a friend from the past or from an old colleague and they help us like fix something that we've been kind of like racking our brains with for, I don't know, like months, right? Maybe we finally decide to, I don't know, join the gym. I think it's so interesting because we generally step into a new year with Mercury retrograde, right? And so many people make New Year resolutions. But the resolutions are generally aligned with stuff that people have been meaning to do or take action on for quite some time, right? So a lot of people start the new year and say, I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to, I don't know, like start hitting the gym. I'm going to start being healthy. I'm going to start developing myself and join classes and courses. But these are not new ideas. These are ideas that have been floating in their heads for quite some time. And I do think that we can use the retrograde in that manner. I do think that this is a smart way of using retrogrades, really just kind of like doing or taking action on what we have postponed, especially on topics that are somehow related to the idea of fixing something that is not working properly. So to use the example of health, if you know that your health is not, I don't know, what it could be, you don't have to wait for Mercury to get out of retrograde. You can start eating healthy now, today, this very minute, right? You don't have to wait for the retrograde to be over because you're essentially fixing something that you've been thinking about for quite some time. So that's a good way to utilize the retrograde. It is a productive month, January, overall. A month in which we collaborate. We've got good ideas that are coming to our attention. ideas that can be implemented from a practical standpoint. Now, yes, I'll put it out there. Keep in mind, folks, that Mercury is retrograde until the 18th, 19th. So I would not recommend buying gadgets, electronics, cars, until at least the 19th. I would say from the 20th onwards, we are safe. Yes, go ahead and fix your laptop. Yeah, totally. But don't get new stuff if possible. Now, obviously, you have free will. I'm not telling you how to live your life. That is completely and totally your decision. But I mean, you might save yourselves, folks, a lot of headaches if you just wait for the retrograde to be over until you purchase a new laptop, for instance. Yes, if you go to the gym, I feel like I now have to say it. Whilst Mars is still a retrograde until the 12th of January, you may feel like your motivation is not quite there yet, not that high yet. But I repeat, if you've been meaning to go to the gym for quite some time, if you've been meaning to be more physically active for quite some time, you don't have to wait for the retrograde to be over of Mars. I mean, you can, but it's not mandatory. The only thing that I would recommend is not overdoing things in a physical, athletic way with Mars retrograde until the 12th of January. Let's look at additional key dates in January. I told you it's going to be a productive month and a month of finding solutions. So on the 1st of January, Venus will conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. This can be like a super intense day romantically, and also a day when things come to the surface that have been buried within a relationship. Now, this could be for the better or for the worse. Generally, Pluto does reveal the truth, however. So what do they say? The truth shall set us free, right? I don't know who said it, but it sounds good. And yeah. I tend to agree with it. On the 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits Aquarius. So we are likely to enjoy, again, teamwork, collaboration a lot more, feeling kind of like this increased appetite for socialization, and also for aligning ourselves with people who have the same goals, objectives, and broader beliefs, maybe to do something together, something worthwhile. Venus transiting through Aquarius is also sweetening the Saturnian deal, because Saturn is still in Aquarius. So whatever kind of like burden and like heavy duty work we're like getting on with, Venus comes in and says, okay, I'll help you. Help may come in the form of a friend, for instance, in the form of you joining a community of some sort. So I'm liking this transit. On the 5th of January, the Sun trines Uranus in Taurus. I love this. I feel like this is like a day to get the job done. I feel like this is a day to have, I don't know, like aha moments connected with security and stability and money and resources. People might have some brilliant ideas. It may feel like a wish is coming true financially in some shape or form. It feels like you're getting appreciation for a job well done. I'm liking it. On the 6th of January, we have a full moon in Cancer. 3 days before, 3 days after. Both luminaries, the sun and the moon, are very nicely aspected to Uranus and Taurus. I will say this, matters connected with home and family life, and also with professional matters, may reach this surprisingly good, this surprisingly auspicious, culminating moment, culminating point. On the 8th of January, Mercury, once again, is trining, Mercury is retrograde, and it has trined Uranus in December, on the 17th of December. Once again, it's trining Uranus and Taurus. Brilliant ideas, original ideas, kind of like out of the blue, aha moments mentally where we recognize, okay, this is how we do it. This is the solution that we've been looking for. Why haven't we thought of it, I don't know, from this angle, from this perspective? So kind of like very innovative ideas are likely to come to our attention. On the 9th of January, I love this day for a date. Venus is trining Mars, a very kind of like conversation fueled date because it's Venus in Aquarius trining Mars in Gemini, right? So I'm loving this for a date. Go out, have a date with someone, have like feisty conversations and debates, and just kind of like get excited over how mentally stimulated you are. And yeah, take it from there. 12th of January, Mars goes direct in Gemini, as I've mentioned before. This is great for motivation, libido, all of that. 15th of January, a very tricky day romantically because Venus is squaring Uranus in Taurus. So it might just feel like our freedom and our liberty and our feeling of like being commitment free is being a little bit threatened by someone with some extreme views romantically. Let's see. 18th, 19th of January, Mercury goes direct in Capricorn. 20th of January for the next month, the Sun enters Aquarius and highlights Aquarian topics. So topics connected with friendship, groups of people, the collective, various tribes, and so on. On the 21st of January, we have a new moon in Aquarius, and Saturn, the dispositor of the new moon, is conjunct Venus in Aquarius. A very, very sweet new beginning. A beginning that involves work, but work where we have help and where we collaborate with someone that has similar values. 22nd of January, Uranus goes direct in Taurus. It has been retrograde for quite some time. 27th of January, okay, mark your dates, mark your calendars, folks. 27th of January until the 20th of February, Venus transits Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces. Beautiful month, beautiful period. Make the most of this period, especially if you utilize electional astrology to launch things, to start off new things. Oh man, folks, people, you got to make use of this transit. It's a very sweet time for love, for romantic stuff, for Venusian matters such as beauty, buying beautiful things. I'm loving it. 30th of January, the Sun is trining Mars in Gemini and Mercury is trining Uranus in Taurus once again. I kid you not, this is when people are going to have breakthroughs work-wise, breakthroughs in terms of kind of like awakenings mentally, breakthroughs in terms of really like successfully achieving goals that involve logic, that involve maybe language, transportation. I'm thinking mathematical analysis, numbers, money. Good, a very, very good day. Mark your calendars, folks. And now, let us dive into the update for each of the 12 zodiac signs. Remember that I strongly recommend that you listen to the update for your rising sign. If you don't know what your rising sign is, find out your time of birth. Go online. You can go to astro.com or AstroSeek or alabi.com/freechart and put in your date, time, and place of birth. You will generate your natal chart, and within the natal chart, you're going to see what your rising sign is. This is the sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the time when you were born. If you don't have your time of birth, then you can, of course, listen to the update for your sun sign. My dear Aries suns and Aries risings, what does January 2023 have in store for you? Well, let's talk first and foremost about the retrogrades, because the retrogrades are going to be on everyone's mind in the first part of the month at least. So Mars, your ruler, is still retrograde until the 12th of January, and Mercury is retrograde until the 18th of January, 18th, 19th, depending on where you live in the world. Mercury is the ruler of your third house of communication and of your sixth house of day-to-day work. And Mars is the ruler of your first house of identity and the physical body, and the ruler of your eighth house of other people's money and shared assets and resources. So until the 18th, 19th, my lovely Aries, you might feel like you are tying up loose ends at work. So you might feel like you are talking a lot about old projects that have been postponed, projects that need to be edited, that need you to go back to them, that need you to go over what you have done, that need you to maybe like go with like a fine-tooth comb through papers, documents, contracts and stuff like that. Now, I'll put it out there. You might be a little bit more impatient than usual as this is happening, and you might be prone to maybe just also getting into arguments, especially until the 12th of January when Mars, your chart ruler, is retrograde. Remember not to get into arguments and not to kind of like try to push your opinion or your agenda too forcefully at work, because you might be talking without knowing all the facts. So if you feel like someone is challenging you at work and saying, okay, so this job needs to be redone, or just look at this project once again, and initially you might get a little bit like frustrated. It's like, no, but I did it. I want to be done with it. I'd say go over it, because you might find stuff that actually does need to be updated, does need to be tweaked, does need to be improved. I would definitely also drive very carefully, walk very carefully, kind of like look both ways when you cross the street, all the way until the 18th, 19th of January. Why? With Mars retrograde and also with Mercury retrograde, I mean, sometimes people in cars do weird stuff and they're not paying attention and they're not looking at things properly. So better safe than sorry. There might still be some repairs that you need to go ahead with when it comes to your car, when it comes to your mode of transportation, all the way until the 18th, 19th of January. I would definitely not recommend buying car parts or changing your car or buying phones or laptops or gadgets with Mercury retrograde. I would strongly recommend that you check every single piece of email that you send at work, just because you might say stuff that you did not actually intend, or the way that you voice and verbalize a message, it might come out differently than you intended it to come out. So it might be worth just kind of like breathing, like I'm breathing now, taking a minute, going over your email one more time, and just kind of like editing anything that sounds funny. There could be some miscommunication at work, of course, with Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde. You may have still this feeling, at least until the 12th of January, you may have this feeling that conversations that involve loans, mortgages, shared assets, shared resources, your partner's resources, until the 12th of January, you may not feel like they're going anywhere, and you may feel like you're going around in circles. But after after Mars gets out of retrograde on the 12th of January, it may feel like, okay, we have more clarity as to where we stand in terms of this loan, in terms of, I don't know, like a shared budget of some sort, so we can make a decision and we can proceed, we can move forward. If you're trying to write stuff like a thesis, to take an exam, I mean, I would strongly recommend that you read very carefully the requirements, the tasks. So if you're looking to take an exam until the 18th, 19th of January, don't rush. Don't just kind of like gloss over stuff and say, okay, yeah, I got it, and just kind of like go ahead with it. Because rushing and speed might be very detrimental with Mercury retrograde and Mars, planet of speed, retrograde. It could be a good time, I want to say, to maybe retake an old exam after Mars gets out of retrograde, from the 12th of January onwards, even if Mercury is still retrograde. Because if you failed an exam a while back and Mars is no longer retrograde and Mercury is retrograde, it's kind of like telling you, okay, go back to what you did not complete a while back, because you are kind of like in a different mindset, I dare say. You might also think about your health related habits and kind of like take a step back and ask yourself, it's Mercury retrograde is a time of introspection. You might think about your health related habits and do some internal digging until the 18th, 19th of January. Now, maybe you're not very clear as to what to do next, what is the best next step for you health-wise, but it is a good time to do a health audit with Mercury retrograde until the 18th, 19th of January. Now, I did tell you, if you listen to the intro, that January is actually a very good month overall. Despite the retrogrades, despite the fact that it may feel like things are starting off a little bit slowly, things are moving forward, I want to say, in an exciting way, in a way that feels very productive after the 18th, 19th of January onwards, my dear Aries. So even the delays and the slowness is kind of like giving you the opportunity to edit things, to tweak things, to find better solutions, to go over what has been done, and to really ask yourselves, Aries, could I do anything differently? So let me take a step back. We talked about the retrogrades, which are super important. A few additional key dates in January to pay attention to. The 1st of January, Venus will conjunct Pluto and Capricorn in your 10th house. It does feel like on this day, maybe there's a feeling of something significant being revealed. And I know that a lot of people are off on this day, but there's this sense of something significant being revealed about your boss. Possibly, or maybe you have an aha moment about your boss because Mercury is retrograde in your 10th house as well. So maybe you kind of like think about an interaction with a boss and you realize, this is what this person wanted to say at the time. On the 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits Aquarius in your 11th house of friends, of goals for the future. I love this transit because it feels like you are connecting with the right individuals that will support you in the direction of your long-term goals and plans. It feels like it's a very social time and sociable time, but it's not just socializing for the sake of socializing. It's socializing with professional goals in mind, very, very likely. Why? Because Saturn is still transiting Aquarius at this time, and Saturn makes us really think about the long-term achievements that we are looking to contribute to. So it may feel like it's easy and enjoyable to collaborate with a group of people from the 3rd until the 27th of January. But I dare say that the collaboration is quite serious. It's like you're not playing around, you're not messing around. 5th of January I like because the sun in your 10th house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 2nd house of income and self-worth and self-esteem. It feels like a boss is really appreciating you and kind of like giving you acknowledgement for how good you are, for how dedicated and committed you are to your job. It feels like a win career-wise that you're experiencing on this day, Aries. On the 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon in Cancer activating your 4th house, 10th house axis. And both luminaries are nicely aspecting Uranus in the 2nd house of income. So what do I like about this, Aries? It feels like you are completing something at home, something connected with your home and family life. Maybe something that you've started working on since, let's see. Maybe the end of June, yes. The 28th of June, week before, week after of 2022, you're completing something at home. So it feels like a culminating point home-wise, living situation-wise. Maybe you're completing renovations. Maybe you're finding a flat, a new apartment. Maybe you're moving into a new apartment. It feels like you also have the money to pay for something home-wise. So it feels like there's this auspicious kind of like energy connected with finances and your home and living situation. Maybe you're getting a promotion around this time, and maybe you've already gotten the promotion and you're sharing the news with the family and you're celebrating with the family. I'm loving this. It's a great time to get together with family, to celebrate with family, to be generous with them, to share some exciting news with them. It's a great full moon. 8th of January, Mercury retrograde is nicely aspecting Uranus and Taurus in your 2nd house. It feels like your boss has some surprising but exciting and pleasant news to share with you. Maybe your promotion has been approved, or maybe your raise has been approved. This also feels like a day when you have some really good conversations with someone in a position of power. Conversations that in a way help you kind of like advance professionally or form better relationships professionally. It could also be a day when you hear of a job opportunity coming from someone that you've worked with in the past, and it could be quite tempting, I dare say. 9th of January, super romantic day. Go out and have fun and really talk someone's ear off, or have them talk your ear off, because it's probably going to be like super exciting and a turn on. Why? Because Venus is trining Mars and Gemini in the 3rd house, and Venus is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships. So if you're going out on a date, or if you're going out socializing, maybe to a concert or to, I don't know, like an event together with a group of people, there may be like this spark, this romantic connection with someone. Or if you are going out with friends with your significant other, if you're in a relationship already, it might feel like a really good fun time that you're having together. 12th of January, Mars goes direct. Finally, you're getting your stamina back. It feels like your messages are finally being heard properly. It feels like you're no longer angry on a sibling, or a sibling is no longer going to be angry on you, with you, if they have been angry with you for whatever reason, if you've been having conflicts with a sibling or even with a neighbor, I dare say. It also feels like you're starting to move forward when it comes to a sale or a purchase, maybe something that has been kind of like dragging its feet. 15th of January can be quite explosive and unpredictable romantically. Maybe you're having a kind of like a fundamental disagreement with someone romantically in terms of plans and goals for the future. You could also feel like there's a clash between your values and the values of a group of people that you're working with or that you're cooperating with. Mercury goes direct on the 18th, 19th of January. So finally, conversations at work are flowing smoothly. You're making yourself understood. No more delays connected with short distance travel. No more issues with your car and so on. So something to look forward to. 21st of January, my lovely Aries. There's a new moon in Aquarius on, I want to say, on this kind of like superb energy. In what sense? The new moon is happening in your 11th house of plans for the future, and Saturn, which is the ruler of the new moon, is conjunct Venus. It feels like you are committing to a long-term goal together with a group of people, and you're very excited about it. You're enjoying it. It's like a hard thing, but something that is likely to promise great satisfaction. It's like, yes, I believe in this, and I want to work with these people, and I want to achieve things together with this group of people because we want to make the world a better place, as cliche as that might sound. 27th of January until the 20th of February, Venus transits Pisces in your 12th house. This is a beautiful time to enjoy romance behind the scenes, to maybe take a few days off, to go to the spa, to relax, to unwind. And also, it's a very, very good time to share moments of a spiritual nature together with someone else. So to attend, for instance, group meditations, or to, try out Tantra with your significant other. I don't know. I don't have to give you ideas. You do what you want, Aries. And last but not least, I love the 30th of January because the sun is trining Mars in Gemini in the 3rd house. It feels like you're scoring a deal, or you're making a sale or a significant purchase. It feels like something is moving forward in a good way, in an auspicious way. Also, when it comes to your car, transportation, your bike. And Mercury is once again in your 10th house of career, nicely aspecting Uranus and Taurus in the 2nd house. More money, a significant payday I see here. I mean, you could be getting paid, but you could also be getting like a raise of some sorts. My dear Taurus suns and Taurus risings. So what does January have in store for you? Well, the month starts off a little bit more slowly because we still have a few planets in retrograde. We've got Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde. So, Mercury is retrograde in your 9th house of long distance travel and higher education, and Mars is retrograde in your 2nd house of income. So let's put it this way, Taurus. You may still feel a little bit frustrated with a financial matter that hasn't gotten solved until the 12th of January, or you may feel a little bit confused as to what to spend your money on. You might be quick to spend your money, Taurus, but after Mars goes out of retrograde, you might be like, why did I buy this? I don't need all of this. I don't need these, new headphones. I don't need this new laptop. So I'll put it this way. If you do make impulse purchases, make sure that you keep the receipts so that you can return stuff after Mars is no longer in retrograde. You may still feel like you've got a little bit of a clash, and it's unclear as to how it's going to be solved with a partner, a business or a romantic partner, when it comes to your differing values. I would not say yes or no or commit to anything until at least Mars gets out of retrograde, if you ask me. I would even wait for Mercury to get out of retrograde if you need to sign anything. So Mercury is going retrograde in your 9th house. I would definitely, if possible, until the 18th, 19th of January, maybe not commit to stuff of a legal nature. Yes, you might need to renew your passport. Yes, if you travel long distance, maybe, I don't know, to like see family and stuff like that. There is a possibility that there could be delays. There is a possibility that maybe your documents have expired. Get insurance, get to the airport on time, maybe get there like earlier if possible. It is a good time to travel to places that you've been to in the past, my dear Taurus, when Mercury is retrograde in your 9th house. If you're waiting to hear results connected with academia or exams or anything that has to do with visas, passports, etc., do not stress out if you don't hear news until at least the, 18th, 19th, 20th of January. You're probably going to start hearing news afterwards. You may retake, lectures, classes, courses that you've taken in the past with Mercury retrograde until the 18th, 19th of January. Mercury is also the ruler of your 5th house. If you're traveling, Taurus, until the 18th, 19th of January, you could bump into like an old flame. It's possible. It's absolutely very possible. You could also feel a little bit conflicted until the 18th, 19th of January about your belief system, about your worldviews, your maybe life philosophy and political affinities. Things are probably going to be a lot clearer after the 18th, 19th onwards. Definitely, if you can, don't buy gadgets with Mercury retrograde until at least the 19th, if you ask me. 1st of January, Venus is conjunct Pluto in Capricorn in your 9th house. This feels like a very intense day, especially if you're traveling. It feels like something is kind of like shaking you to your very core. It may feel like you're having an epiphany around this time, or you might have like a little bit of a spiritual epiphany as well on this day and become aware of one of your deepest subconscious patterns and beliefs, maybe limiting beliefs that has been negatively impacting your relationship with yourself, but also relationships with others and relationships with co-workers. 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits Aquarius in your 10th house of career. A beautiful time professionally. It's easy to form connections. It's easy to network. It's easy to persuade bosses of stuff or people in positions of authority. It really feels like you're enjoying life in the spotlight, in the limelight, but especially for professional kind of like purposes and reasons. I dare say that you can also act as the kind of like mediator and peacemaker and the one that brings people together professionally throughout this time. And you're probably going to do this very, very well, Taurus. I like the 5th of January because it feels like you have an aha moment connected with your sense of self, connected with how you have changed and grown and evolved, and how much you have freed yourself of maybe limiting beliefs or patterns that were keeping you stagnant in the past. Let's see. The sun also rules your 4th house of home. So if you're traveling with a parent or to see parents around this time, it may feel like they have some like pleasant surprises for you. And you're just kind of like, I love this. I'm so glad I did it. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your 3rd house, 9th house axis in Cancer. So your axis of traveling, but also your axis of studies. This full moon is very nicely aspected to Uranus. So this could be a time when you get some really positive results, even though they may have been delayed, connected with exams, or if you have to retake an exam, the grade that you're getting is probably much better than you thought it would be. If you're traveling, this journey is likely to feel like it's bringing epiphanies about yourself and about your life direction to your attention, and it feels very good. It feels like a very empowering trip that you're taking. If you're looking to sell something, you're probably going to find a buyer around this time, maybe also something connected with home in general. I'm liking this. I'm liking this because you also seem to get clarity on a matter that has been racking your brains for quite some time. I like the 8th of January because it's a day of brilliant ideas. When Mercury is trining Uranus in your first house, it's a day when it feels like you're coming up with a solution to solve an old problem, maybe a financial problem of some sorts, or a problem connected with your parents or your home and family life. You might kind of like see things from this different angle altogether, and it dawns on you, okay, this is how I can pay for this stuff, or this is how I can fix, I don't know, the problem that I've been having at home, or the issue that my parents have been struggling with. So I'm liking it. 9th of January, a very romantic day. But interestingly, it feels like it's a romantic day connected with your career. So you might have some like sparks flying in a professional setup. It also feels like you're in this state of flow professionally on this day. So you've got great ideas, you're persuasive, you're bringing people on your side. People that maybe were not on your side up until this point are now kind of like rallying behind you and saying, yes, we support you. Good news professionally and financially. 12th of January, Mars goes direct in your second house of income. So much more clarity in terms of how to manage your money and budget. 15th of January, this could be quite tricky. Venus is squaring Uranus in your first house. It feels like someone in a position of power, like a boss, a leader, is trying to, I don't know, is trying to kind of like calm down a little bit your rebelliousness. You might feel a little bit constrained as a result of that. 18th of January, Mercury goes direct in the 9th house. So things are becoming much clearer to you mentally as to what you're going to do next in terms of academia, in terms of studies, in terms of university. You might also finally see things moving forward when it comes to visas, passports, legal matters, and so on. The sun moves into your 10th house of career on the 20th of January for the next month, so it illuminates career matters for the next month. The sun is also the ruler of your 4th house of home, so it's almost like I want to say that it may feel like you're living at work. So your work and your professional life becomes your home, at least for the month ahead. There's a new one in your 10th house of career, 21st of January, 3 days before and 3 days after. I like this. It feels like you're starting off an important new long-term chapter professionally, a chapter that really has a deep impact upon your reputation. You are seen as an authority. You commit to something that you are like really invested in, that you know requires time and effort and energy and patience, but it feels like the right thing to work on and the right thing to build for the long term. You could be getting promoted, or you could also be receiving some sort of like good news connected with your career. 27th of January until the 20th of February, Venus transits Pisces in your 11th house. I love this. Great time. Go out with friends, connect with friends, socialize, network, be out into the world. You're going to find your people. You're going to feel welcome and appreciated by your friends, by your tribe, by society. And it's a very, very auspicious time if you're looking to form relationships work-wise. So relationships that are helpful or they're likely to impact you in a positive way work-wise. 30th of January, another good day. I told you I've got good news. I've got very, like a ton. I've got multiple good news for January. 30th of January, the sun in your 10th house of career is trining Mars in Gemini in the second house. It feels like you've won something at work. It feels like you've scored a win at work. It also feels like you're maybe like spending money because you're celebrating something connected with your career. It's possible that maybe you could be taking clients out or celebrating with your team. If you are managing a team, it's like, yes, we've won this big client. Let's go out and have drinks. It's possible. And Mercury is trining Uranus and Taurus again. Really, really good news connected with your exams, connected with academia, maybe surprising news connected with academia, maybe also an impromptu trip that you need to take. So if you need to travel around this time, it feels like a pleasant surprise. It doesn't feel like something super annoying that is kind of like rubbing you the wrong way. No, it feels like, yeah, I want to do this. You could be booking a trip around this time. That's also very, very possible. And it could could feel like this spontaneous thing, but that at the same time is like super exciting, and it gives you this sense of exhilaration, my dear Taurians. And that is January for you. My dear Geminis, Gemini suns and Gemini risings. What can you expect from January of 2023? Well, let's talk about the retrogrades first, and then also about the good news, the supportive aspects, the auspicious transits of January 2023. Now, Mars is still retrograde in your first house until the 12th, right? So with Mars being retrograde, it may feel a little bit until the 12th. That anger is being turned inwards rather than outwards. You might have a higher chance to like cut yourself, so be careful when handling sharp tools. It's not mandatory for this to happen, but it could happen. I've also heard from like people with Gemini risings that they have been struggling with respiratory viruses, colds, flus. It could still be a cause of inconvenience, let's say, until the 12th of January. From the 12th of January onwards, I do feel like you are much clearer in terms of what you want, in terms of who you need to assert yourself towards, who needs to respect your boundaries, who you need to push back. You might also feel like your stamina is going up, like your level of vitality is going up. You might also feel much less frustrated with the outside world and just kind of like in this place where you want to like go and get the job done and move forward with your plans. Still, I would recommend, even though physically you might feel much better, so no more like health issues, no more like bruises and like minor like cuts and like fevers sometimes, because Mars can be quite feverish. Now, you don't have to experience all of these things. You might just kind of like get angry more easily. So even though you're feeling like probably physically better, Mercury is retrograde until the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where you live in the world. Mercury is the ruler of your physical body. After Mars gets out of retrograde, but until Mercury gets out of retrograde, so between the 12th until the 18th, 19th, it may feel much clearer to you as to why you've been experiencing all sorts of like health-related challenges or physical challenges, or what sort of like lesson the universe was trying to teach you when it came to like banging your head against the same wall over and over and over again. And initially you might have seen kind of like no rhyme or reason to it, but now you're taking a step back and saying, maybe this is what the universe was trying to send across. Maybe this is the message that I was supposed to receive, I dare say. Now, until Mercury gets out of retrograde, I would definitely not recommend, if you can, I would not recommend buying stuff, especially gadgets or laptops, or even stuff for the house, because Mercury is the ruler of your fourth house of home. You can fix things around the house, definitely, but I wouldn't buy new stuff, especially electronics or gadgets, right? Because these are ruled by Mercury. There could still be some delays connected with, I don't know, moving into a new home, or maybe having like products being delivered to you. There could be, whilst Mercury is retrograde, all sorts of like miscommunication with, I don't know, the delivery company, or stuff not getting on time to your doorstep. Do not stress out. Be patient, but also remember to check in with people and to triple check that they have the correct address, to triple check that you've placed the right order. I want to say all the way until the 18th, 19th of January, folks. That is my recommendation. Mercury is going to be retrograde, Geminis, in your, let's see, in your 8th house. So until the 19th of January, it may feel like you are having these sort of like conversations back and forth, maybe old conversations with your partner about shared assets, about shared expenses, maybe about the mortgage, about who pays how much out of the rent, stuff like that. And it may feel like, we're not really on the same page yet. You're probably going to be more on the same page and reach an agreement after Mercury gets out of retrograde. There might also be a sense of like delays and things being slow when it comes to loans or you getting a mortgage approved and stuff like that. But again, fret not. After Mars and Mercury go out of retrograde, it may feel like you're in a much better place, you're in a much better position, and you know how to handle maybe miscommunications or issues on this front, the area of like other people's money, shared assets, shared resources, shared expenses, mortgages, and so on. Now, I told you that I also have good news for January. From the 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits Aquarius in your 9th house. For you, Geminis, Venus is the ruler of your 5th house and of your 12th house. If you're traveling, you may experience, especially if you're traveling long distance, Geminis, you may experience some really pleasant surprises. Maybe the trip is, even though it was a business trip, it may feel much more, I don't know, like enjoyable and fun and useful and pleasurable than you thought it would feel. Like you might also travel together with friends or make friends whilst you're traveling and just generally enjoy travel related matters. It may feel also like stuff connected with the legal system is kind of like helping you and working in your favor somehow, or you may find the right type of advice, the right type of advisor, the right type of consultant with Venus transiting this part of your chart. Then on the 5th of January, the sun in your 8th house is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 12th house. I feel like this is a good news. This transit is indicative of good news connected with investments. Surprisingly so. I don't think that you were expecting good news at this point in time. You can also like buy or sell something that leaves you in a much better place financially. Maybe you can clear out debt. Maybe you can clear out your credit card around this time. You might receive an unexpected gift. Very, very possible. I'm liking this. I'm also liking the full moon in Cancer on the 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. It's activating your financial axis and it's very nicely aspected to Uranus. I feel like you're paying for something. You're either kind of like paying for something maybe faster than you thought you would. You are freeing yourself of some financial burden. And it does feel really good. And it does feel like, yes, this is a fabulous way to step into the new year. I also believe that you could receive payment around this time, payment that was delayed for quite some time. And maybe you did not think that you would get this payment, but alas, the universe sometimes has some really good surprises in store for us. So I'm loving it. Anyway, financially, it's a good time. Regardless of whether you're receiving money or kind of like clearing out debt, you feel freer and it feels good. It feels light, right? 8th of January, I want to say that you're probably going to have some really productive and constructive conversations with a partner, a business partner, or a life partner around money. Also another good day when it comes to investments. Maybe you're congratulating yourself for having made an investment a while back and now things are looking up. It's like, okay, I had flair. I put money behind this. You might also have a bit of an aha moment around how you have been sabotaging yourself and you realize, oh wow, so I've been doing this all along and now if I stop doing it, then my life is going to be better. It may feel like a moment of like psychological breakthrough, I would say. It could also be a day of good news connected with loans and mortgages. Another good day connected with loans and mortgages is the 30th of January, maybe also the day before and the day after, when we have the same transit, Mercury trine Uranus once again. The universe is really kind of like helping you make your life easier and achieve something tangible when it comes to other people's money. Like I said, when it comes to loans, mortgages, or also when it comes to assets that you share or expenses that you share together with a partner. The 8th and the 30th can also be two very good days or periods. Maybe you can also look at the day before, the day after, when it comes to your partner's finances, my dear Gemini. So your partner could be like, oh wow, I've received a massive bonus. Let's go out and celebrate, right? It's very possible. I'm liking the 9th of January. I told you I have good news. I told you. People are like, Rux, but what about the retrogrades? Bear with me on this one. 9th 9th of January, I like it because Venus is trining Mars. So it feels like a very romantic day, a day when you are pursuing someone maybe romantically, or you're taking the first step romantically, and it is paying off. It also feels like you are like super confident in leading a group of people, and this group of people is saying, yes, we want you to show us the path. A very productive day in terms of achieving things connected with long distance travel, academia, and maybe also higher education. And also anything that involves the judicial system. Take action, push for it, give a phone call, maybe kind of like get in touch with someone to solve an issue, because it may very well get solved on this day. Mars goes direct on the 12th of January. We talked about that. Mercury goes direct on the 18th, 19th. The 15th of January could be a little bit tricky. You could be delayed, or you could be, I don't know, like frustrated with someone or delayed by someone whilst you are traveling, my dear Geminis. A matter connected with children, especially if you have children, could interfere with your travel plans. So I don't know, let's say you were planning to travel and your like little one all of a sudden has like a stomach bug. I'm not saying that you can't travel, but I am saying you may need to be flexible and adapt at the last minute. The sun enters your 9th house from the 20th of January for the next month. So matters connected with traveling, academia, higher education, and also looking at the big picture of life are likely to be front and center and kind of like top of your mind. On the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a new moon in your 9th house. Saturn, the ruler of the new moon, is conjunct Venus. I feel like you are committing to a new path academically around this time, or you are committing to some sort of like goal that involves maybe working with someone from a different culture, working with a group of people, maybe that are based in a different country all together. I feel like you are starting to put a lot of effort. So it's a new beginning that involves effort, but effort that you enjoy when it comes to better understanding, when it comes to accumulating knowledge connected with something that you're very passionate about. And if you are embarking upon a new studies path, it feels like you've got someone by your side to do it with. So maybe like a good friend or a good partner, a good advisor, a good mentor. You could find a great mentor around this time. 27th of January all the way until the 20th of February, Venus transits your 10th house of career. Oh my Geminis, you are loving this time professionally. You are loving this time in terms of how you are seen at work and also how you are seen in society, because maybe you're not, I don't know, like working for a corporation or anything like that, but it does feel like your reputation is kind of like becoming sweeter, and also your image is becoming brighter out into the world. It feels really good to connect with people professionally. It feels like the work that you're doing is meaningful. You might also feel like investing time and resources into improving your public status and public reputation, especially professionally. So you might invest in like, I don't know, like new kind of like clothes or something like that. And you're probably going to make some really, really good choices, some sweet choices. 30th of January, one of my favorite days of the month. The sun in your 9th house is trining Mars in Gemini in the 1st house of identity, and Mercury is trining Uranus in your 12th house once again. Okay, so I feel like you are scoring a win here, either connected with academia, connected with your studies, connected with long distance travel, or connected with, I don't know, like a trial or something that's been kind of pushing you to get involved with the law and legal matters. You could get a positive outcome, a positive result. You could also feel like you know exactly what you need to do next in order to advance, in order to further your education and your academic path. You might also receive some good news connected, for instance, with a scholarship. So if you applied for a scholarship that was linked with your studies, you are probably going to get a yes, my lovely Geminis. Now, if you are a Cancer sun or a Cancer rising, my Cancerians, my dear brothers and sisters, I'm a Cancer rising myself. What does January have in store for us? Well, it's got good news, but then it's also got the retrogrades. So I'm like, okay, the good news and the retrogrades are running in tandem. Mars is still retrograde. Mars being the ruler of your 10th house of career and your 5th house of enjoyment. Mars is still retrograde in your 12th house until the 12th of January. So only after the 12th of January is it likely to feel like you've got clarity as to what you want next from your career, what the next step career-wise is for you, and also you may feel like you've got much greater clarity as to how you have been sabotaging yourself by doing things that are pleasant but destructive, I dare say. You might have faced a lot of demons with Mars retrograde in the 12th house since the end of October. You might have faced a lot of demons connected with love, romance, maybe fears linked with children. Maybe there was a sense of like sabotage on this front. Sometimes sabotage does come from the inside. And with Mars retrograde, I do strongly recommend looking at intrusive thoughts that could be manifesting into reality. So watch your thoughts, watch how you talk to yourself, how you speak to yourself, and also how you speak to others. Mars going out of retrograde is like, ta-da, finally. I now know what I need to give up on in terms of my next kind of like chapter professionally. I now know what I no longer enjoy doing or what I no longer enjoy in my romantic life. So Mars going direct can bring a lot of clarity. If you've been fighting with one of your kids or with a boss, it may feel like things are a lot clearer after Mars gets out of retrograde. So you're like, why have we been like fighting this whole time? So a solution is likely to be on the horizon. Mercury is retrograde also in your 7th house of relationships until the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where exactly you are in the world. Mercury is the ruler of your 3rd house and of your 12th house. So you're probably going to have some old conversations once again with your partner throughout this period, business partner, romantic partner, and it might just feel like they're not hearing you and you're not hearing them, and there's kind of like this gap in between what you're trying to send across and what they're trying to relay to you. Sometimes this can be frustrating. I would remember that Mercury is retrograde. And I would remember to clarify and to ask questions rather than jump to conclusions. Ask questions. Ask questions when it comes to your romantic relationships. Ask questions when it comes to your business partnerships. Speaking of business partnerships, I would not sign up for new business partnerships until after the 19th of January, 18th, 19th, but to be on the safe side, after the 19th of January, just because there could be hidden clauses. If you do need to sign a deal, I would really go through the contract with a fine-tooth comb. I would even get like maybe like an attorney or an advisor to go through it. And even then, there could be things that you don't notice, I dare say. Definitely, there could be some challenges with cars, I believe, or your partner's car. With Mercury retrograde until the 19th. I mean, challenges could be just having to fix something that has been on your radar for a while, and now finally your partner are going ahead and fixing the issue, the problem. The car might need to get serviced or whatever it's called. Triple check what you're signing up for in a relationship with someone else. Okay, speaking of relationships with someone else, Mercury retrograde in the 7th house is prime time. Prime time, folks, for exes coming back into your life. Is it a good idea to welcome them back? I don't know. Only you can give the answer to that. Sometimes we are wiser after we have given each other some space, after some years have passed, maybe. So I'm not going to say a full-blown no, but I am saying until Mars and Mercury go out of retrograde, before you fully commit to someone romantically, I would take what they say and where they're at with a pinch of salt, because after these two planets are out of retrograde, you might be like, you know what? I don't think I like you anymore. I don't think you're part of my plans anymore. 3rd of January, so going back in time, 3rd of January, Venus transits Aquarius until the 27th of January. Venus moving through Aquarius in your 8th house is likely to bring gifts, enjoyment when it comes to intimacy and sex, maybe some sort of like increase in terms of the partner's resources, maybe someone that wants to invest in you, also gifts from the family, or you being very generous with the family. And it is a very supportive transit when it comes to applying for loans, mortgages, or investments from other people. Maybe when it comes to running a fundraiser, for instance. Venus is going to move through Pisces in your 9th house from the 27th of January until the 20th of February. Oh my gosh, this is so sweet. Please, please, please. Venus in Pisces is exalted. So if you can schedule any type of traveling throughout this period, especially long distance traveling, it may feel like one of the sweetest trips that you take. Very positive, very romantic, very auspicious. If you're single, you may connect with people romantically whilst you're traveling. This is a very enjoyable time out into the world, attending, I don't know, like theater plays and going to museums. By the way, I love a museum. And I know like so many of my fellow Cancerians and people who have a lot of like Cancer energy in their chart. I know that we're history kind of like aficionados. We care about history. Cancer is connected with the past, right? So yeah, just like go to exhibitions and enjoy and kind of like allow yourself to be inspired by others. A really good time also to travel with a parent or to travel to visit parents and so on. A very sweet time also in terms of finding guides and mentors and people who can help bring a new perspective upon your life, who can help you find meaning in a different way in your life, Cancerians. I'm liking it. Now, going back in time, on the 5th of January, I love this because the sun is trining Uranus in your 11th house. This could feel like a really productive day in collaboration with a business partner when it comes to long-term goals for the future. It could also feel like someone brings in an unexpected solution to one of your problems. Maybe like an advisor, a consultant, an accountant, someone from the outside, or even a friend. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon in your 1st house of identity, also activating your 7th house of relationships. This full moon is very nicely aspected to Uranus. I feel like this is a time of like pleasant surprises when it comes to how much you've grown, how much you've evolved, in terms of how you approach relationships. Your relationship with yourself has changed. Your relationship with your physical body has changed. It might also feel like you have found the right partner to work together with when it comes to some of your plans for the future that have just been postponed. And maybe it's someone from your past. It could be someone from the past coming back into your life and saying, let's build something together. Let's make money together, which is very possible because the sun, which is involved in the lunation, is the ruler of your 2nd house of income. You seem to feel very valued and very appreciated at this time, both by a partner, romantic and business, but also by friends. And you seem to have kind of like unexpectedly found a link with someone who can help you achieve your dreams and your goals. I love this. This is also a very auspicious full moon for relationships. All matters connected with relationships, my dear Cancerians. Go out, spend time with friends and with your significant other, and just kind of like enjoy seeing how far you have come, because you have come very far, Cancerians. 8th of January and the 30th of January, these are 2 days of great ideas, of brilliant ideas, because Mercury is trining Uranus. It feels like people from the outside, like a partner or a friend or a therapist or, I don't know, like an accountant. It feels like they're bringing original, unconventional, unorthodox, but brilliant and pragmatic solutions to your problems, to your challenges, maybe to something that you are looking to achieve, something that has not allowed you to fully enjoy your sleep, I dare say, Cancerians. 9th of January, a very romantic day. Venus is trining Mars. I mean, Venus is in the 8th house, so I feel like this is a romantic day in terms of just really having some good sex, because it's the 8th house. Also a very auspicious time in terms of investments. So you could receive a return on investment or a piece of good news connected with an investment or maybe with a bonus, I dare say. 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. So right after the 20th, when the sun moves into your 8th house, on the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in your 8th house of shared assets, shared resources, investments, and so on. Venus is going to be conjunct Saturn, the ruler of this new moon. This is a new beginning in terms of maybe receiving like a mortgage, maybe receiving good news connected with a fundraiser. This can also be a time when you commit together with a partner to a long-term goal, a long-term project that involves money from both sides, but that also involves this very sweet collaboration. So together with a partner, you could be pooling resources to start off something big home-wise. So maybe you may start kind of like saving for a home or saving for the renovation of the home. It feels like you're aligned, and even if it's going to take a while, it's going to require patience because Saturn requires patience. You seem to be on a good track. This could also be a time when some of you start therapy, and it might be one of the best things that you do. I'll just put it out there, especially since Saturn has been transiting your 8th house of psychological transformation since the end of 2020. 30th of January, it feels like you're having a breakthrough psychologically. You have an aha moment about something that has been a destructive force from behind the scenes, maybe something that has been a destructive force in connection with your career, and now you see it and you're like, I know how to get rid of you. Ta-da! And I've got just a way to do this. Another day of good news connected with investments, other people's money, shared assets, shared resources, and a feeling of a successful collaboration with a partner when it comes to a joint expense, my dear Cancerians. My dear Leos, Leo suns and Leo risings, what does January have in store for you? Well, let's talk about the retrograde planets first, especially Mercury and Mars, and then let me give you some like really good news. January is a good month overall. It does feel like a month when a lot gets solved, even though the start of the month, at least until Mercury gets out of retrograde, on the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where you are in the world. Even though the beginning of the month is a little bit slow, I have to admit, nevertheless, it is a month in which the job gets done. So Mercury is going to be retrograde until the 18th, 19th of January. Let's see. In your 6th house of day-to-day work. So communication with people at work may not necessarily be super smooth all the time. Check emails, check what you say to people, make sure that you have understood the correct, accurate message from people. It doesn't hurt to ask. It doesn't hurt to send people reminders. It doesn't hurt to maybe clarify stuff with people at work, clarify stuff with colleagues. If you feel like something is going slower than it's supposed to at work, until the 19th of January, 18th, 19th, then I would not stress out too much about it because it is likely to pick up the pace after Mercury is no longer retrograde. So definitely something to look forward to. Mercury for you, my dear Leos, is the ruler of your 11th house and of your 2nd house. So if you're feeling like you're not getting paid sufficiently or on time, I would chase people and I would not, again, kind of like read too much into it, at least until after the 18th, 19th of January. You might collaborate with someone from the past work-wise on a lucrative project throughout this period. You may hear of a job offer from the past, or you may finally hear news that you were waiting for quite some time connected with money and work until the 18th, 19th of January. Now, Mars is retrograde still until the 12th of January in your 11th house. So you may still feel like you don't have a clear direction in terms of some of your goals for the future, or you may feel a little bit conflicted about your relationship with some friends. You may still be angry with some of your friends, and you could have quarrels or fights that you are likely to reconsider after Mars gets out of retrograde. You could finally make up or kind of like find a way to work together after Mars goes direct with this, with your friends and with a group of people that you are a part of. Mars is also the ruler of your 4th house of home. So at least until the 12th of January, you may not be clear as to how to proceed with a long-term plan connected with your home. After the 12th of January, it may feel like, okay, I can see the way forward. You might also feel like it's a lot more comfortable to assert yourself in front of family members and maybe a parent that has been crossing your boundaries from the 12th of January onwards. You might feel a little bit slow and maybe also stuck and maybe talk yourself out of doing good stuff for you health-wise, whilst Mercury is retrograde in your 6th house of day-to-day work. So that could be another kind of like issue that Mercury retrograde brings to your attention. Now, let's put it this way. Sometimes your mind is not your friend. I think that's like very solid advice for most people. So if you know that you need to take care of your health better and your mind is finding all sorts of excuses with Mercury retrograde, I would just like shut it, pause it, and be like, okay, you can like talk, like the TV on in the background, but I'm just gonna go and do my thing. I'm just gonna go and like work out and go for my daily walk and things like that. Now, I told you I also have good news. So, 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits Aquarius in your 7th house of relationships. This is generally a very sweet time relationship-wise. It's a good time to go out on dates. It's a good time to do romantic stuff with a partner, to work together with a partner on a long-term goal, because Saturn is still moving through your 7th house of relationships. If you want to commit to a partner, I would really want to flag the new moon in Aquarius to you, Leos, happening on the 21st of January, also 3 days before, 3 days after, when Saturn will conjunct Venus. So this is a perfect time to make a very serious commitment to a partner, a romantic partner or a business partner. It is the beginning of a new relationship, I dare say, or the beginning of a new chapter in your most significant relationships. So it could be in your romantic life, but it could also be business-wise for you. You might also find the right person to help you with a long-term goal around this time, like the right advisor, the right therapist, the right consultant, the right person to work with one-on-one. But in general, whilst Venus is transiting your 7th house, it feels easier to attract the right people in your life, and it feels easier to have others cooperate with you. It's like they're biased towards you in a good way, I dare say. Venus is also the ruler of your 10th house of career. So especially around the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you may connect with someone who is going to be very important for your career growth and advancement moving forward. It could be a significant client. That's very, very possible. Overall, it feels auspicious, even though it requires a lot of work and effort and patience over time, because Saturn is also involved at the time of the new moon. I'm going to go back in time. Okay, so 5th of January, I like this because the sun is trining Uranus in your 10th house of career. This is a day of good news and of successful wins, maybe surprisingly so at work. Maybe something gets solved that has been giving you headaches at work. Maybe finally you're hearing the news from your boss that you were waiting to hear. Maybe someone that has been kind of like dragging their feet and giving you the green light on a work project is finally giving you the green light, and you're like, yay, amazing. This could also be a time, a day, especially when you connect with someone quite out of the blue who has an exciting work opportunity for you. And it could be someone from your past. The same goes for the 8th of January. You could connect with someone that has like a really good, I want to say, opportunity for you work-wise. Yes, it's probably going to make you busier, but yes, it also seems to pay much better. Speaking of payday, the 8th of January seems to be a great payday. If you're looking to seal a deal with a client, maybe someone from your past, or someone who has been quite slow in agreeing to what you are offering, to what you're proposing services-wise, I like both the 6th and the 8th of January when Mercury is, so on the 8th, Mercury is trining Uranus in your 10th house of career. The 8th is also great news for brilliant, original, progressive, and unconventional solutions to work-related problems that are going to kind of like catapult a project into the future, I'd say. Another great day for innovative solutions at work, for which are likely to be super praised, is the 30th of January. I like the 8th of January and the 30th of January for writing projects. So for instance, if you need to write a PowerPoint presentation or if you need to write a proposal to a client, I like both of these days. So the 8th of January and the 30th of January. On the 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, you have a full moon activating your axis of service. And it's very nicely aspected to Uranus and Taurus in the 10th house of career. I feel like this could be a time when some Leos are going to leave a job because they have something better lined up. It's very possible. You might be like, see ya. I have been sitting on this piece of news since before the holidays, and here it is, folks. You might be sharing it with the team and saying, voila, here is my resignation. I have got something like super cool that I'm looking to go for next, professionally, let's say. It also feels like you are wrapping up a very significant project work-wise around this time that has been delayed. Or maybe you were supposed to wrap it up at a different moment in time, but all of a sudden a boss comes in or someone with power comes in and they just kind of like make your life easier. They unburden you. This is also a time of very good news health-wise, the 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. Something that's been giving you headaches, metaphorically speaking, health-wise. You could finally find the solution. The treatment is working. You're feeling better. It's kind of like a breakthrough health-wise as well. 9th of January, a very romantic day. I strongly recommend doing something cool with a partner or maybe just going out there and meeting people. Why? Venus in your 7th house of relationships is trining Mars in Gemini. So if you do something with a romantic partner, it could be fun to go to like a concert or a group type of thing. If you are not with someone, it could be cool to go out with friends and see what comes out of that because they could introduce you to someone, or you could just see that like a friend maybe sees you as more than just a friend. So there could be kind of like this feeling of like chemistry between you and a friend. Great collaboration on the 9th of January with groups of people on intellectual matters, I would say. Also a great day for networking. 15th of January, something that happens in your professional life might interfere with the plan that you had made with a partner because Uranus is squaring Venus in the 7th house of relationships. So this could be a little bit out of the blue, but what can you do? Sometimes it happens. We've talked about the new moon in your 7th house of relationships on the 21st of January. I like the period between the 27th of January until the 20th of February when Venus transits your 8th house in Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is kind of like a very strong placement for Venus to be in. Venus is the ruler of your 10th house of career and of your 3rd house. I feel like this is a time when you're likely to get positive, auspicious news connected with bonuses, maybe a raise, maybe someone giving you the vote of confidence, someone with a lot of power, someone who has kind of like power behind the scenes and they're saying, I believe in you, and you feel their support and kind of like moving forward career-wise. So I'm liking this period. It's a great time to receive gifts, to give to others gifts. It may feel like relationships are becoming much stronger as a result of also sharing the deeper sides of yourself with them. Great time for investments, but obviously remember that you are responsible for what you do with your money. There could be some good news connected with investments, however, all the way from the 27th of January until the 20th of February. There could be some opportunities to invest as well. And generally kind of like a very enjoyable time when it comes to intimate connections and relationships with others. I also like the 30th of January. I told you I like many days in January. It is a good month. It is a good month despite the delays and maybe some misunderstandings with Mercury retrograde. I like the 30th of January because it feels like you're excited to move forward with a partner in the direction of a long-term goal that has been going through all sorts of like, I don't know, delays and obstacles and not being on the same page with people and not having clarity and just kind of like talking with no like clear goal in mind. Now it's like, yes, let's do this and let's do it together. You might also have something exciting to share with your friends connected with your relationship sector. So maybe a significant piece of news. This can be a time when you form a very lucrative deal professionally. When you sign like a massive client, or when you have like a very, very successful like interview and you feel like you have won, because you probably have won. You're very likely to impress people on this day professionally with the way that you present things, the way that you present solutions. Your mind is very like, I want to say very original and very progressive, and it blows them out of the water because they're saying, no one presented these like options to us. So I'm liking it. My dear Virgos, Virgo suns and Virgo risings, what does January have in store for you? I got good news. I also have some retrogrades for you. So it's a mixed bag, but overall I would say that it's a good month. It is a good month. I'll just put it out there. Old problems will get solved very likely, and sometimes even miraculously, I would say. Now, let's talk about the retrogrades first. Mercury, which is your chart ruler, my dear Virgos, and the ruler of your 10th house of career, is retrograde in Capricorn in your 5th house all the way until the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where you are in the world. Now, with Mercury retrograde, it may feel like sometimes you're not very clear as to whether you really like what you do work-wise throughout this period. You may feel like, oh, have I lost my passion for my career? Or is this really what I want to do moving forward? You might also have a little bit of like a mental struggle when it comes to creative ideas related to your work. And maybe sometimes it just feels like you're not satisfied fully with the creative ideas that you bring forward for your work. It could also be a period of time, I'll put it out there, when you feel called to go back to an ex, because Mercury is retrograde in your 5th house of romantic love. And you may feel like this sense of nostalgia for an ex and maybe have them like message you, or you might be thinking of messaging them. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad idea. What I'm saying is don't commit to something, or don't fully like throw yourself headfirst into something before the retrograde is over, because after the retrograde is over, you might change your mind. So from the 18th, 19th of January onwards. Some delays connected with your children's life. Maybe they're not going into school as early as you thought they would. I don't know, maybe they're having like the flu or something like that. It's not mandatory, but it could feel like a slow start for children school-wise if you have kids. There is a possibility. Mars is still retrograde until the 12th of January in your 10th house of career, and Mars is the ruler of your 8th house and of your 3rd house. So you may still be unclear until the 12th of January as to whether you're going to receive or not a bonus professionally. You may feel a little bit unclear as to where you stand in relationship with a boss. You might still feel frustrated because of something that you felt, I don't know, you were attacked with in a work environment. You could have some challenging conversations with bosses still until the 12th of January. Careful what you say, because it can be used against you. It might feel a lot easier to assert yourself and to be clear in communication and to be clear in taking the lead professionally after the 12th of January. I would also say that after the 12th of January, it may feel a lot clearer as to where you stand in connection with a boss or with someone in a position of authority. And it might finally feel like you're moving forward when it comes to a crisis that has been unfolding at work. Now, I'm not saying that anything bad was happening directly related to your job, but it could have been, I don't know, a crisis connected with a client. Maybe a client was threatening that they're gonna leave, and everyone was kind of like running around like headless chicken, and you were supposed to like guide them, but maybe it felt like hard to find the right words to guide them and to like be clear in what the next steps are. So this is likely to get easier after Mars gets out of retrograde, and definitely much easier also after Mercury gets out of retrograde, because sometimes with Mercury retrograde, it just feels like our mind is working in funny ways. Let's put it this way. Let me go back to the good news. I told you that I have also good news, Virgos. Wait for it. So Venus transits your 6th house of day-to-day work from the 3rd of January until the 27th. And Venus is the ruler of your 2nd house of income and of your 9th house. So from the 3rd of January until the 27th of January, you could travel for work, and you're likely to be very appreciated if you do so. You could also find work with people from a different culture, very enjoyable and very fulfilling. You may also feel inspired to spend money on matters connected with your health, wellness, and well-being, but also maybe stuff that has to do with beauty and feeling better in your body and feeling more attractive, I'd say. Venus transiting the 6th house is also a time when coworkers and colleagues and the people that you work with, even the people that you manage as your team, this is a time when these people are likely to agree with you. And to be willing to compromise and to be willing to meet you halfway and to be willing to make things work, even if you're conflicted, even if you're feeling sometimes kind of like frustrated because you don't have a clear direction as to where you're headed to next career-wise. The good news is that people are open to compromise, to meeting you halfway, and so on. Venus is going to enter your 7th house of relationships from the 27th of January until the 20th of February in Pisces. Venus in Pisces is one of the strongest Venuses you could ask for. I mean, so is Venus in Libra and in Taurus. Some people say exaltation is stronger. Some people say domicile is stronger. But anyway, from the 27th of January until the 20th of February, Virgos, you're going to love this period romantically. Go on holidays with your partner, go on vacation with your partner, take days off with your partner, spend romantic dinners together, schedule romantic dinners together, schedule a day at the spa together. It's a fabulous time to go out on dates if you're single, because you are likely to be very attractive and to attract people that are very interested in you, my dear Virgos. This could also be a period when you form lucrative partnerships financially. So business-wise, it could be a time when it feels like you attract the right kind of business partners. Traveling with a romantic partner is also super nicely aspected from the 27th of January until the 20th of February. So relationships are sweeter and more enjoyable. And when I say relationships, yes, I'm referring to romantic relationships, but I'm also referring in general to one-to-one interactions with other people. So they do feel sweeter and more enjoyable overall. Now let me go back in time. 5th of January, this could feel like a super exciting day in terms of creative ideas, in terms of doing something that you love to do. If you're traveling, it may feel like a journey filled with pleasant surprises. And it could be also a day when you have an aha moment connected with your link with the divine. So you may understand somehow on a deeper level your purpose here, your connection with the divine, what you're here to do. It could also feel like a great day for creative projects. It's like you have this brilliant idea all of a sudden and you are keen to put it into practice. A day for brilliant ideas, actually 2 days for brilliant ideas, are also the 8th of January and the 30th of January, when Mercury is trining Uranus in your 9th house, and it's Mercury in the 5th house. So you could have some innovative, original, out-of-the-box ideas when it comes to a creative project, maybe also creative project at work. You could find some really smart and weird, but still smart solutions to work-related issues. If you are traveling on the 8th of January or on the 30th, you may enter into conversations with people who give you some really cool perspectives, some really helpful perspectives when it comes to your professional path, I dare say, my dear Virgos. So it's almost like you're getting some really solid advice or perspectives or informational input, even though you weren't necessarily looking for it. The 8th of January and the 30th of January could also be days when you feel super inspired to write something, maybe something creative like a song, especially if you're in that place. You could also hear some really positive news from children connected with their education. So maybe they get a higher grade than you thought they would get around this time. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there is a full moon activating your 11th house of friends and long-term goals and your 5th house of creativity, children, passions, and romantic love. And both luminaries, the sun and the moon, are nicely aspected to Uranus in your 9th house. My dear Virgos, this is a great time to go out into the world, to socialize, to spend time with friends, to travel with friends, to collaborate professionally with friends, to also get together with people from school, from university. You may form some really significant ties and relationships, maybe even for your professional life. It is a great period of time, 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, to attend a concert, to attend a group event, to attend like a course or a class on a topic that you really enjoy, because it may feel like you're coming out of it very illuminated, my dear Virgos. It's also a time when you are likely to bring to fruition, to completion, maybe unexpectedly so in a good way, a group project. And everyone is like, yes, let's celebrate because this turned out much better than we thought it would turn out. So definitely a reason to celebrate. 9th of January, Venus in your 6th house is trining Mars in Gemini in the 10th house of career. It feels like you are receiving just the right support and the right input and energy and maybe mental kind of contribution from coworkers when it comes to one of your most important initiatives work-wise. It could also be a time when you have a very successful interview, when you maybe bring successfully someone on the team, or someone from your team is kind of like forming an important connection between you and someone else in a professional setup that is going to help you achieve a goal, my dear Virgos. It could also feel like a very successful day, 9th of January, when it comes to any type of like treatments or procedures health-wise. You could also start to see results health-wise, maybe after a long time, after putting a lot of time and effort. And it's like, yes, wow, like here are the results. It was all worth it, even though the process was very long. 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a new moon in your 6th house. It feels like, so this new moon involves a new beginning, either work-wise, so you could start a new job or join a new team or have a new person join your team. So it feels like a new beginning that involves both pleasure and successful collaboration, but also hard work and a long-term kind of like view of things. So you could be committing to a new job. You could be starting a new job, and it's probably something that you're going to work on for a long time. You could start working with a team that you're going to collaborate with for a long time. It could also feel like you are finally kicking off a very significant long-term regimen health-wise. So you might be like, okay, finally, I'm going to commit to drinking more water every day. You could give up on something health-wise around this time. So you could give up on, I don't know, like smoking, for instance. But it just feels like you're in the right mindset. So it is a good time to do so. I'm liking the 30th of January, both for work-related purposes and for romantic purposes. It's kind of like a day when you combine work with pleasure. So you could have a win at work. Maybe you are receiving like applause or like good news from a boss and they're saying, well done, fabulous. I mean, you've overcome this sort of like major like crisis and issue. At the same time, you could also have a date scheduled, and a date that is like super like fun, and you're kind of like aligned in terms of like conversations and communication with this person that you've just like recently connected with, but it feels like your plans are aligned, and that is generally a very good sign when it comes to the future of a romantic relationship. It could also be a time when you receive good news connected with pets. So I don't know if your pet has been like suffering from something health-wise, or they've been struggling with something. It feels like there's a breakthrough of some sorts, my dear Virgos. It also feels like you're overcoming on this day either a health or a work-related crisis, or both. So if you're wrapping something up work-wise, you might be feeling better health-wise. My dear Libras, Libra suns and Libra risings, what does January 2023 have in store for you? Well, I told folks that January is actually a good month. I know that some of you might have your doubts because of the retrogrades. We're going to address the retrogrades of Mars and Mercury. But I do believe, Libras, that you're actually going to enjoy this month overall. One of my favorite transits for you in January is the transit of Venus through your 5th house of enjoyment, entertainment, romantic love, creative self-expression, passions, hobbies. Venus is the planet of pleasure. With Venus transiting this part of your chart, you may really have some good fun this month, but also fun that is somehow tied with productive activities or with your goals in some shape or form. On the 3rd of January until the 27th of January, your chart ruler, Venus, is going to be transiting your 5th house, but Saturn is still there in your 5th house. So if you've been having some goals, connected with creative projects, connected with your passions and hobbies, Venus comes in and says, I'm going to make this super smooth and easy and pleasant and enjoyable and so on. Now, Venus transiting the 5th house is also a really good transit for dating, especially if you are open to meeting someone. However, knowing that Mars, the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, is still retrograde until the 12th of January, you might actually want to go out on a date with someone who you have been interested in the past, or someone who you've known for quite some time. So there is a possibility that romantic partners from the past will reach out to you, and you may actually even enjoy spending time with them, maybe getting to know a different side to them, especially whilst Mars is still retrograde. I do not recommend, that doesn't mean that you can't do whatever you please. I don't necessarily recommend committing to someone fully or saying, yes, you are the one, you are my person, until Mars goes out of retrograde, because there could be kind of like a bit of a change of perspective, or there could be new information that comes up after the 12th of January. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that you can't have a very enjoyable time dating, going out, attending social events, mingling, flirting, with Venus transiting your 5th house until the 27th of January. Now, from the 27th of January all the way until the 20th of February, Venus is transiting your 6th house of day-to-day work in Pisces. Venus in Pisces is exalted. It's a very comfortable place, Pisces, for Venus to be in. You are likely to really enjoy the work that you're doing throughout this period. It may feel like things are flowing very easily and smoothly on a day-to-day basis at work, in connection with your colleagues. It may feel like colleagues, co-workers, even the people that work for you, if you've got a business, it may feel like they are just kind of like so eager to please and so eager to make things work in a manner that you find appealing, I dare say. Venus transiting the 6th house is also a really good period for you to maybe take care of your health, wellness, well-being, and maybe also consider the aesthetic side of things. So, I don't know, I'm thinking if you wanted to do something like a facial or like some sort of like physical, I don't know, like procedure. If you've been looking to kind of like combine the aesthetic side of things with the wellness and health side of things, Venus transiting this part of your chart is very, very, very supportive, my dear Libras. So I would definitely recommend taking advantage of it. Now let's talk about those retrogrades that I've been mentioning. They are still news. They are still news in January. So Mars is still retrograde until the 12th of January. Mars is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships. You may not yet have clear perspective upon where a partnership is headed, or you might be a little bit still unsure about whether you want to commit to someone or you don't actually. There could still be some quarrels, maybe sometimes some conflicts due to misunderstandings in connection with partners, business partners or romantic partners until the 12th of January. But after the 12th, I dare say that the lack of clarity in a relationship is dissipating, it is dissolving, it is going away. Also, Mars has been going retrograde until the end of October in your 9th house. So if you've been experiencing delays, if you've been experiencing setbacks connected with legal matters, connected with traveling, connected with academia, connected with exams, I do believe that Mars going direct is likely to unlock things and unblock maybe that feeling of frustration of why isn't this going anywhere, or why am I not hearing anything from these people who are supposed to tell me if I have been accepted to this, I don't know, like master's program or something like that. Now, if the 12th of January comes, or like the few days after, and you still don't hear anything connected with a trial, something that has to do with visas, traveling, academia, if you don't hear anything, or if you don't feel like things are getting unblocked after the 12th of January, I want to remind you that Mercury is also retrograde, and Mercury is the ruler of your 9th house until the 18th, 19th of January. So I do believe that there is still some kind of like catching up to do until maybe the 18th, 19th of January. It feels like things are starting to move forward connected with these particular initiatives that have to do with traveling, academia, and so on after Mars goes out of retrograde. But something happening at home, in your home and family life, Libras. Something connected with home, property, your living situation, your private life, might determine you to postpone a little bit going full speed ahead with whatever you've been planning, whatever you've been meaning to action in these particular areas: traveling, foreign lands, foreign countries, visas, academia, exams, and so on. So there's kind of like a few maybe issues possibly, or conversations or stuff that you need to handle at home first in your private life before you can move forward full speed ahead, my dear Libras. Mercury retrograde. Mercury is retrograde until the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where you live in the world. Mercury is the ruler of your 9th house and of your 12th house, and it's going to be retrograde in your 4th house of home. So until the 18th, 19th of January, there could be some delays, some miscommunication, maybe some issues that pop up in your home, in your private life, connected with something that needs to be fixed in a tangible, practical way, something that requires a long-term view, maybe also something that requires the input of a legal consultant or of a legal advisor, I dare say. You might also be helping a parent throughout this period until the 18th, 19th of January to deal with some legal matters, to sort out some paperwork and stuff like that. You may have to possibly even postpone a trip, because maybe a long distance trip, because of matters that require your attention at home. You might also feel like you want to bring back to your family's attention conversations or topics that maybe blindsided you, or kind of like caused some suffering, caused some pain in the past, but now you feel like, okay, it is time to address this. Mercury retrograde in the home sector for you Libras might also require you to fix some stuff around the house, especially electronics, gadgets, and things like that. If you travel, especially long distance Libras, in the first part of January, I want to say until the 18th, 19th of January, before you leave the house, I would make sure to just kind of like unplug devices, I don't know, like your TV, your kind of like electronics around the house. I would make sure to unplug them, because there could be some issues with possibly electricity, and you don't want to come back home and say, oh my God, I wish I had just kind of like turned this thing off, because now look, it's all fried because of the electricity going rogue. So that is a possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to happen 100%, but I would be kind of like mindful of that. Now let's go a little bit back in time to the beginning of the month, Libras. I like the 5th of January Why? Because the sun in your 4th house of home is trining Uranus and Taurus in the 8th house. It feels like a family member might have some sort of surprise for you. Maybe they have like a surprise gift for you. Maybe they have like a surprise announcement, which is also very, very possible. If you are spending time with family, you might kind of like talk about your past, about your friends. You might even meet an old family friend or get together with an old family friend around this time. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a full moon activating your 10th house of career and your 4th house of home and family life. And the full moon is very nicely aspected to Uranus. Expect the unexpected with Uranus. Expect surprises. Expect breakthroughs, I wanna say. First and foremost, Libras, look back at what was going on for you career-wise around the 28th of June 2022, give or take 3 days before, 3 days after. Because whatever you were working on, whatever you were dealing with career-wise at the time, it may culminate, it may come back to your attention in a very pleasant way professionally at this point in time around the 6th of January. You may receive some really, really good news from your boss around this time. I'm thinking maybe news connected with a bonus or with a significant client. This could be a time when you accept an offer, maybe an offer that you were supposed to give an answer on a while back, but let's not forget that Mercury is retrograde at the time of this full moon, so it feels like something is culminating in a very pleasant way, including financially for you career-wise at this point in time, but it may have been something that has just been kind of like delayed. It was supposed to come to a close a while back. Some of you may give news of a promotion to your family. You might say, hello, you are talking to the new CFO or something like that. I would also say that it feels like this is a time when you're overcoming, maybe in kind of like in an unexpected way, but definitely a way that makes you happy. You're overcoming a crisis at work or something that's been really kind of like eating you up on the inside. So definitely a very welcome full moon. I also like the 8th of January. Again, some good news possibly connected with a legal matter that involves property. Maybe you are hearing news connected with a mortgage, you're receiving the green light, maybe your parents are saying, yes, we kind of like paid off our debt and things are looking really, really well for us property-wise, so I'm liking this. I'm also liking the 9th of January. This is a particularly romantic day, Libras. Also the day before and the day after, but I love the 9th of January. If you're going out, if you're connecting with someone, it might just feel like sparks are flying and you've got this great chemistry and these amazing conversations. And even if you are not going out on a date, you may connect with someone out into the world in a social kind of like setup that really stimulates your mind, and it's very kind of like electrifying, and you may also feel inspired by this person. So I'm loving it. 15th of January, there could be maybe something that you find out about a partner, about a romantic partner, about someone that you're seeing that is taking you a little bit by surprise. You might be like, I don't know what to say about this. I don't know how I feel about this. It's not necessarily good or bad, but it just kind of like take you, it might just blindside you, Libras. The sun moves into Aquarius in your 5th house of enjoyment on the 20th of January. So for the next month, the spotlight is being placed on having fun, having a good time, doing what you love. And then on the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, we have a new moon in your 5th house of enjoyment, passions, hobbies, and children. Saturn is conjunct Venus at this time. I feel like you are connecting to a new project. You are committing, my apologies, to a new project from a creative perspective. You're setting new goals for yourself in terms of some of the things that you're doing to make yourself happy, Libras. So you might say, okay, I realize that I really enjoy being part of this broader community and organizing community events, and I know that it requires time and effort and energy, but I'm gonna commit to it and I'm gonna start doing it. Some Libras, especially Libra risings, might receive some really good news connected with children, or it may feel like your children, if you do have them already, are entering a very kind of like significant chapter in their life, a chapter that requires discipline, maturity, more responsibility. You might look at your kids and feel like, they're really growing up. And I also like the 30th of January because this is another very romantic day, but also a day filled with creative inspiration, with the sun in the 5th house of creative inspiration in a harmonious aspect to Mars in Gemini in the 9th house. This could also be a day when you receive very positive news connected with a legal matter, an exam, connected maybe with something that has to do with your children's education. If you're traveling on this day, it might just feel like it's filling you up, it's filling your cup and bringing kind of like a new source of like joy and vitality in your life, Libras. I like it. Now, if you are a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio rising, my dear Scorpios, what does January have in store for you? Well, it's got some good stuff. It's got some retrogrades. There's quite a bit to go through, so let me not get ahead of myself. Mars is still retrograde until the 12th of January, Scorpios. Mars is your chart ruler, especially Scorpio risings, and it is also the ruler of your 6th house of health and day-to-day work. After the 12th of January, my dear Scorpios, it may feel like finally, you are overcoming some sort of like crisis health-wise. So if you've been dealing with, I don't know, like a virus on and off, if you've been dealing with maybe some mental health issues on and off, if you've been dealing with anxiety on and off, especially since Mars went retrograde at the end of October, you are starting to see the light, symbolically speaking. You are starting to feel like you're connecting with this new level of clarity in terms of how you can address this issue health-wise. You might also feel like you're no longer turning this sense of like anxiety and anger and frustration inwards. You might feel like, okay, I'm going to do something about this. Even health-wise, if you've been dealing with like a respiratory virus or something of that nature, it may feel like you're starting to overcome this from the 12th of January onwards. If you've been feeling frustrated in terms of your life direction overall, Scorpios, I want to say that after Mars gets out of retrograde, you will probably feel like, okay, I know what I need to do. I know who I need to talk to. I know what I need to action on a day-to-day basis. Also, if there were any delays that you've been experiencing, or even, I want to say, conflicts that you've been experiencing connected with loans, mortgages, your partner's assets, shared assets, maybe shared expenses. If you've been dealing with any of these since the end of October, you are starting to make progress from the 12th of January onwards. So I do believe that this is super, super exciting and something to look forward to. Mercury is retrograde in your 3rd house. However, until the 18th, 19th of January, depending on where in the world you are based, Mercury for you Scorpios is the ruler of your 8th house and of your 11th house. So a few things are happening here. Until the 18th, 19th of January, if you're traveling, if you're commuting, if you're traveling short distance by train, by car, there's probably going to be delays and disruptions, and I strongly recommend checking the schedule of the trains before you leave the house. There could be kind of like impromptu incidents on the road. Mercury retrograde is generally the trickster, right? So if you had a plan and you thought, okay, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna go and see my friends, I'm gonna take the bus to this place, all sorts of stuff are likely to kind of like break down and fall apart. Now, it's not a disaster in any shape or form, but it's just causing inconvenience, my dear Scorpios. Also, with Mercury retrograde in your 3rd house of communication, I would triple check any email that I send. I would triple check that the people that you're talking to, especially friends, but also people who you kind of like share assets in common with, such as a marriage partner, I would triple check that they got your right message, that they understood what you're trying to say. Just because Mercury retrograde might kind of like tamper a little bit with the clarity of your message. This is going away after the 18th, 19th of January. Definitely there could be some repairs that you need to deal with car-wise, transportation-wise, if you've got a car, if you've got a bike or something like that, until the 18th, 19th of January. Maybe you just need to like get the, I don't know, like annual like service done for your car. I would not, but completely up to you, I would not purchase a new means of transportation. I would not purchase a new car or a new bike or anything like that with Mercury retrograde in your third house of short distance travel. Just a bit of a heads up. Another very important transit for January is Venus transiting your fourth house of home from the 3rd of January until the 27th. This is likely to really make your time spent at home very pleasant, very enjoyable. If you are, I don't know, like spending time with family, traveling to see family, if you are planning to host people at your home, it may feel like a really, really sweet time, a really sweet period. This is also a good time to buy nice stuff for the home, to maybe purchase nice stuff for the family. You might also receive gifts from the family, so I'm liking it. Any sort of like work that needs to be done in the house, or any sort of like long-term goal connected with the house and with your living situation that has been on your radar is likely to be sweetened and made easier and smoother by Venus transiting this part of your chart. It might just feel like the right people are coming in and offering you their help, and the entire process is kind of like going ahead in a very, very enjoyable way, my dear Scorpios. On the 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon in Cancer activating your 3rd house, 9th house axis, the axis of traveling and of learning. And both luminaries, the sun and the moon, are nicely aspecting Uranus in your 7th house of relationships. My dear Scorpios, I do believe that if you travel around this time, obviously if you travel, please make sure that you've got all your documents with you. Mercury retrograde, remember, if you're traveling around this time, and especially with a partner, and you could be traveling with a partner around this time, it may feel incredibly enjoyable and surprising and electrifying in a good way. Also, if you're traveling with a partner, they might just have a surprise for you. Now, I don't know exactly what they've got planned because I do not live in their head, but they are likely to take you by surprise in a good way, in a nice way. It's kind of like nice to break the routine together. You might also hear some very positive news around this time connected with a legal matter, connected with, I don't know, maybe waiting for your visa to be approved, or connected with a trial of some sorts. It could be that your legal advisor is calling you out of the blue and saying, it's done, it's over, well done. Also, really positive news connected with exams are likely to make their way to you around this time. If you needed to retake an exam around this time, you are probably nailing it in a really, really, really like big way. So I like it. I'm also liking the 8th of January. And the 5th of January, there's some really nice aspects from your 3rd house to Uranus in the 7th house of relationships. On the 5th and on the 8th, you might sign a deal. You might have some really productive conversations with a business partner. You might feel like also in your personal relationships, you might feel like you're very aligned and you've got a clear plan on how to move forward with a big kind of like tangible issue that involves you and your partner. If you're going out on dates on these days, I mean, sparks are flying, but you also seem to be really kind of like solving things. If you're spending time with business partners or clients, you really seem to be solving stuff from a work perspective that maybe has not been solved a while back, and now all of a sudden everyone's having like these breakthroughs, these ideas out of nowhere, and you're kind of like on the same page and you're agreeing on how a matter needs to be resolved. So very, very productive conversations on these 2 days. I'm liking the 9th of January for a hot date at home. So if you are with someone or if you're seeing someone, I would go to their place or I would invite them to your place, because Venus in the 4th house of home and private life is very nicely aspecting Mars in the 8th house of intimacy and sex. So mark your calendars, folks. 9th of January, hot date at home. 15th of January, there could be a little bit of like a bit of a shakeup romantically. Maybe because your partner kind of like brings someone into the home or like takes you by surprise, but let's say you don't necessarily like the surprise or you weren't really prepared for what they had planned. So all of a sudden they could be saying, I don't know, like tonight we're going to the theater, and you're like, no, my mom's coming over and I gotta cook. So definitely not a bad thing, but it could just feel like this is disrupting what I had planned. Just putting it out there. 20th of January, for a month, the sun transits your 4th house of home and family life. So the spotlight is being placed. It continues to be placed on home and family matters. And on the 21st, there's a new moon in your 4th house of home, a new beginning at home. Maybe you're moving into a new home. Maybe you're starting renovations. Maybe you've got some significant, let's say, news to share with the family, something that's been cooking, something that's been in the works for quite some time. It might also feel like you're finally enjoying the fruits of your labor on something that you've been working on in your private life. Venus, general significator of love, pleasure, is going to enter your 5th house of enjoyment from the 27th of January until the 20th of February. Probably one of the most romantic times of the year for you Scorpios. And also for Scorpios, especially Scorpio risings who are looking to maybe get pregnant. This is a fabulous time, fabulous time. Venus is one of the 2 benefic planets that says yes to things. Romantic endeavors, creative endeavors, and generally like fun endeavors. Let's not call them endeavors, fun activities, are really going to bring a lot of joy for you Scorpio risings from the 27th of January all the way until the 20th of February. It's a great time for dates. It's a great time to travel with a romantic partner. It's a great time to prioritize what brings you a sense of fulfillment. Venus is, by the way, the ruler of your 7th house of relationships. So if you can share these activities with the partner, that would be even better if you ask me. And last but not least, 30th of January, a really, really good day to fix something, to solve something at home, maybe to have like a very open conversation and to put all the cards on the table and really feel like, okay, either with your partner or with a family member, you have reached some sort of agreement. This could also be a day, I want to say, when you could be purchasing something very significant for the home, but it's something that you are really happy with, my dear Scorpios. My dear Sagittarius suns and Sagittarius risings, what can you expect from January of 2023? Well, for starters, I think you're going to be very happy to hear that Mars is going direct in your 7th house of relationships. Mars has been retrograde in Gemini in your 7th house of relationships since the end of October. It is going to go direct on the 12th of January. You might have been having a bit of a challenging time, I want to say, especially those of you who are in relationships. You might have been having a bit of a challenging time in your romantic partnerships, in your business partnerships, because it may have felt like your partner is maybe angry or frustrated or annoyed when it comes to stuff that happened a while back, when it comes to maybe stuff that you don't even remember, stuff that you completely got over. And it may have felt like old conflicts, old issues, old debates came back to your attention, came back into your life. And the partner might have even sometimes said stuff that possibly has been quite hurtful. Now, because Mars is retrograde until the 12th of January since the end of October, whatever the partner may have said throughout this period may not have been exactly what they intended to say. So I would take things with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Now, it may feel like you are likely to reach some sort of agreement, and you're likely to at least have less conflicts, less fights, to feel like you're finally moving forward with a relationship. I want to say after Mars goes out of retrograde. However, I don't think the conversations from when it comes to the past, when it comes to past issues, are fully over. Why? Because Mercury, which is the ruler of your 7th house of relationships, Sagittarius, is going to be retrograde until the 18th of January. You may still have some conversations that you delayed or postponed, or you might pick back up where you left off, some conversations with your partner connected with money. Now, it could be with your romantic partner, but it could also be with your business partner. You might say stuff like, okay, I've been meaning to, tell you that I want a higher percentage out of the work that we do together, or I want to be compensated for my time that I spent doing X, Y, and Z, and this is something that's been on my mind for a while, and here it is. I'm now sharing this with you. I'm now telling you that it is important for me to make sure that my work is valued properly, is valued in an accurate manner. I would also say that you may be still a little bit unclear as to how to move forward in a partnership when it comes to a financial matter until the 18th of January. You might also be a little bit unclear on what you actually value the most in partnerships until the 18th of January when Mercury is retrograde. Mercury for you, Sagittarius, is also the ruler of your 10th house of career. There is a possibility that you might experience delays connected with your career, maybe connected with you hearing news about your raise, you hearing news about your promotion, you hearing news as to whether your request for, extra payment has been approved. It may feel like you're experiencing delays in this regard all the way until the 18th of January. So it's something that is probably going to be solved from the 18th of January onwards. But up until that point, it might just feel like this is taking a long time. You might experience some frustration. If you were waiting for a business partner to pay you for your services and they're just kind of like dragging their feet, they might be dragging their feet until at least the 18th of January. I would also recommend, because Mercury is retrograde up until that point, I would recommend checking in with them and saying, hey, have you received my invoice? This is the day when I sent it to you. Or this is my last message to you. Have you kind of like paid attention to it? I need my money now. There might be a little bit of like miscommunication and back and forth and some misunderstandings when it comes to financial matters that involve a business partner probably until the 18th, 19th of January. Nothing that is unsolvable. But I did want to put it on your radar, my dear Sagittarius. I would also triple check what you spend your money on, and I would triple check that you pay the correct amount whilst Mercury is retrograde. When you go to the restaurant, for instance, when you buy stuff for like anything, for instance, I would really check the receipt, and I would also keep a closer look on your bank account throughout this period, because you want to make sure that you haven't been charged wrongly, right? Again, I'm not saying that it's not solvable, but it could just be kind of like an inconvenience, and unless you go through your expenses, unless you look at the receipt, you might not even notice what I'm telling you. Now, I did say at the beginning of this forecast that January is actually a good month. It is a good month, even though there's kind of like a slower start to the year. It is a month in which old issues are likely to be fixed, which is definitely something to look forward to. Now, let me go back to the beginning of the month. 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits Aquarius in your 3rd house. Venus is the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work and the ruler of your 11th house of friends. There is a very high chance that you may really enjoy working with people, presenting stuff to them, taking them out for lunch and dinner, people that you work with, even friends. It might just feel like the connection with coworkers, colleagues, but also friends is flowing very easily and smoothly, and you're just kind of like on the same page. It feels easy to reach agreements. It feels easy to negotiate with these people. And I realize that you might not be negotiating with friends. You might be negotiating with coworkers or clients, but it does feel like the way you send across your messages seems to land very nicely, seems to land very well with these folks. It's a great time to also open conversations when Venus is transiting your third house, and to kind of like just be open to extend an olive branch. If you have been having conflicts, fights, misunderstandings with folks, Venus is really smoothing the path for you to have peaceful conversations where harmony is being restored. So definitely something to look forward to. 5th of January, some really good news connected with money, finances, maybe kind of like an old, payment that you weren't expecting is making its way back to you at this time. Bravo to you, Sagittarius. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your financial axis, your 2nd house, 8th house axis. So money is going to be on your mind a lot around this time. You may hear some really positive news connected with your bonus, connected with an investment, connected with a loan or a mortgage. It could be a time when you pay a big kind of like chunk of money to get rid of some debt, but it does feel like something that is kind of like lifting a weight off your shoulders. It's making you feel freer. It's making you feel liberated in some shape or form. This could also be a time when you pay a significant amount of money that you're happy to pay. Why happy? Because the full moon is very nicely aspected to Uranus in your 6th house. So if you're paying a lump sum of money, you're probably happy to pay for it because it's something that you realize has utility. And its utility seems to be connected either with your work or with your health. So if you are forking out a chunk of money, it's probably contributing to your greater good, my dear Sagittarius. There could also be some good news around this time connected with your investments. And if you've been putting a lot of effort into managing your investments, it may seem to be paying off around this time, around the 6th of January. I'm liking the 9th of January because this seems to be a very romantic day. If you're going out on a date, if you are extending an olive branch to your existing partner because you've been having some like more challenging times, it may feel like you are finally on the same page. You are agreeing upon stuff that has been maybe a point of contention for a long time. Venus is trining Mars in your 7th house of relationships at this point in time. I would not say no to kind of like a short road trip possibly around this time, or just kind of like an escape from the city. It's also a day when you are likely to either buy or sell something and really feel kind of like happy with the result. Maybe something that you've been meaning to sell for quite some time. You may finally find a buyer, or you may purchase something that you're super excited about because you've been looking for this object for a long time. You are very persuasive in your communications. You are also likely to feel very pleasantly stimulated mentally by a partner, be it a romantic partner, be it a business partner. 18th of January, Mercury goes direct, woohoo! And the sun in your 2nd house of income is going to conjunct Pluto. So it feels like something is coming to the surface, is being uncovered in regards to your financial situation. Maybe you're finally getting paid after a lot of delays. Maybe you're finally seeing, maybe you're finally seeing why there were some increased expenses in your bank account, and you realize, okay, a mistake was made here. So it feels like a secret is being uncovered, or something that has been buried is being uncovered, and it is solving maybe an issue that you've been dealing with whilst Mercury was retrograde, my dear Sagittarius. This could also be a time when you pay for a trip, Sagittarians. 20th of January, the sun enters your 3rd house of communication for the next month. This could be a time when you really feel inspired to learn, to write, to talk to people, to network, to connect with others. And on the 21st of January, there's a new one in your third house. Saturn is going to conjunct Venus in Aquarius at this time. It feels like you're starting a new course or a new class, or you're starting some significant writing project. So it could be your thesis. It could be, for instance, maybe embarking upon a longer term course, something that will help you make more money, very likely, something that will increase your value, I wanna say, and I realize that I'm using value very cynically here, but it does feel like it's something that you're going to also enjoy learning, even if it does require quite a bit of effort and time and patience. 27th of January until the 20th of February, Venus transits your fourth house of home. Oh, such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time at home throughout this period. Sagittarius, you're likely to feel very kind of like loved and embraced and welcome and fulfilled and happy in the bosom of your family. And I realize that we should all feel like this all the time, but let's face it, it kind of like comes and goes, and some periods are better than others. It is really a good time to enjoy time spent at home in the privacy of your home. You might also enjoy working from home throughout this period because Venus is the ruler of your sixth house of day-to-day work. Or if you have been looking to initiate some sort of like creative aesthetic project within the house, such as painting some walls, Venus is likely to bring that extra dose of good taste. So I strongly encourage that you undertake creative endeavors at home. Last but not least, the 30th of January, such a good day, Sagittarius. You're either reaching some sort of deal. It could be a business deal. I'll put it out there. It could also be a day when you sign a contract, like an important contract, when you achieve something that is concerned with your classes, your courses, your education, maybe like a writing project. It also feels like a day when you're very appreciated at work, maybe because you have kind of like a breakthrough idea, genius idea. You help someone get out of a tricky situation, and the person gives you credit, and you end up being applauded by the entire team. So I'm loving the 30th of January, Sagittarians, and that is January for you. Now, my dear Capricorns, Capricorn suns and Capricorn risings, what does January have in store for you? Well, good stuff, but also some delays, obviously, because we're going to deal with some retrogrades and some issues that you've been meaning to solve for a long time, finally getting solved this month. It's like, So let me not get ahead of myself. I like the period from the 3rd of January until the 27th of January because Venus is transiting your second house of money, income, and enjoyment. Now, with Venus transiting this part of your chart, it may feel easier to persuade people to pay you. It may feel easier to really appreciate the talents and the skills that you bring into other people's lives and to charge accordingly. It is a good time to ask for a raise, by the way, my dear Capricorns, especially since Venus is also the ruler of your 10th house of career. So if you've been meaning to ask for a raise, if you've been meaning to hike up your prices, if you've got your own business, this is the time to do it. Trust me, I'm an astrologer. You might also feel inspired to spend money on beautiful stuff, on beautiful objects, on beauty in general, on maybe things that you enjoy that also involve groups of people, socialization, connecting with your peers, and so on. Mars is retrograde still until the 12th of January in your 6th house of day-to-day work. Mars is also the ruler of your 4th house of home and your 11th house of plans for the future. So if you've been experiencing some frustration and delays at work, connected with your goals, your objectives, and maybe also connected with the collaboration with a team of people, with a group of people, I do believe that things are likely to feel a lot easier and smoother after Mars goes out of retrograde on the 12th of January. You may feel like you're finally making progress with some long-term goals and plans work-wise. If you've been experiencing health issues, the same thing, on and off, recurring issue, since the end of October when Mars went into retrograde motion. I dare say that you're finally likely to see some progress after Mars goes direct, my dear Capricorns. If a parent has been dealing with health issues throughout this period, again, it may feel like they're finally recovering. You're finally seeing progress in regards to their health after Mars gets out of retrograde. If you have been also struggling to fix something around the house because you've just been too busy at work or because you've been having some health issues, it may feel like you can finally focus on fixing whatever needs to be fixed at home because you are overcoming like a blockage or a period of frustration and stagnation, either health-wise or work-wise, or both, Capricorns. Mercury retrograde. Mercury is retrograde in your first house of identity all the way until the 18th of January. Mercury is the ruler of your 6th house and of your 9th house. So I dare say that in your work environment, you may sometimes feel like you're not being properly understood until the 18th of January. So I would double check that people are picking up the right message from you. I would also double check that the emails that you're sending are being sent to the right recipients, because Mercury retrograde can be quite the trickster. I'd also say that this is a period of time when you are likely to look inwards and to think about maybe why you've been dealing with the same health issue, why you've been dealing also with the same type of like problems and frustrations at work. Especially, I want to say since the end of October. And you may have some epiphanies, my dear Capricorns, and you may realize, actually, that I'm the common denominator because I've been using this manner of speaking or this manner of connecting with others, this manner of sending through my messages, and maybe I haven't been clear enough. That is certainly also a possibility. You could be thinking a lot about yourself throughout this period, Capricorns, with Mercury retrograde in your first house. And you might also start kind of like doubting a little bit, okay, what do I really want from my work? Or what really fulfills me from my work? I do believe that there is a chance that you might sometimes get late to work or kind of like miss possibly deadlines, which I know Capricorns really hate doing with Mercury retrograde in your first house. So I do strongly recommend until the 18th of January, double checking deadlines, double checking that you're delivering work on time, double checking that you are on top of daily deliverables, even if this is something that you normally would not struggle with at all, Capricorns. Now, let's go back to the beginning of the month. Mercury is going to be out of retrograde, 18th of January. Up until that point, of course, I strongly recommend not buying gadgets, not buying cars, and be careful what you sign in general. I'm not saying don't do any of these things. I'm just saying employ extra cautiousness. If we go back to the beginning of the month, I like the 5th of January because it does feel like a very fun day. So it is a good day to like go out. It is a good day to maybe also, if you have kids, to do some like fun stuff with children, like take them by surprise. And you do seem to feel very appreciated by children and by romantic partners. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your relationship sector. Capricorns, I think this could be a time when you are either committing to someone relationship-wise or you're finally doing something in your relationship sector that you've been meaning to do for quite some time, but now you have mustered up the courage. And I do believe that this could take the other person by surprise. There's also a possibility that someone who you've been hanging out for quite some time might say, listen, I have feelings for you. And the good news is that you have feelings for them as well, most likely. You could enter into a relationship, especially if you're single, with someone who you've known for a long time, Capricorns, especially Capricorn risings. It's also a good time to really just do romantic stuff with your partner, to really like celebrate your relationship if you are in a relationship with someone already, to maybe kind of like dash for like an impromptu weekend away if that's possible, or just kind of like do something that your partner would not expect you to do. Because it may really revitalize a relationship in ways that you did not maybe think it would, or you did not expect that it would. There could also be news of surprise pregnancy. I mean, if that's something that you're excited about, great. If not really, then you know what to do about it. I like the 8th of January because it also seems to be like a very fun time, especially with people from your past. So maybe catching up with old friends or maybe old romantic interest, as I said. 9th of January, you seem to be reaching an agreement at work, an agreement with someone that maybe has been like a thorn in your side for a while. And finally, you may feel like you have persuaded them to come to your side. Or you might acquiesce to something that is coming from them in terms of initiative. And you might be like, you know what? Let's just get it done. Let's just get it out of the way. Why am I stressing out so much? So definite kind of like progress work-wise on a thorny matter. Is thorny a word? On a tricky matter. Let me just employ synonyms because that's always helpful. Let's see. The sun is conjunct Pluto in your first house. On the 18th of January, when Mercury goes direct, you could have a bit of an epiphany about something inside of you that you haven't been facing. Maybe like a wound, or maybe some sort of like trauma that your identity was attached to. And now that you've experienced this epiphany, you may feel like, okay, now I can make different choices, or now I can kind of like overcome this internal demon that I haven't been eager to look at up until this point in my life. From the 20th of January all the way until the last week of February, the sun transits Aquarius in your second house of income, so money is going to be on your mind a lot, and it may feel like a lot is revolving around the topic of finances all the way until the last week of February. Almost approximately the last week of February, when the sun moves into Pisces. I can even tell you exactly when the sun moves into Pisces. Let's see. Well, actually, the sun moves into Pisces on the 18th of February. So basically from the 20th of January until the 18th of February, your focus seems to be very much, the spotlight is being placed on your financial situation. And there's a new moon in this part of your chart on the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, when Saturn is conjunct Venus. I feel like there's kind of like a new source of income making its way to you, or you're starting a new project financially, or you are addressing the budget that you are managing in your life a little bit differently. You may set some new goals financially. You might say, okay, even though maybe it's not necessarily the easiest thing for me to do, I'm going to start putting some money aside for stuff that makes me happy, for my own enjoyment, for pleasure. Why? Because Saturn is going to be conjunct Venus at the time. Venus is also the ruler of your fifth house of enjoyment. So you may decide to reevaluate your budget and set up like new goals financially and like reorganize your expenses, because you're really invested in also utilizing your hard-earned cash for things that bring you happiness and enjoyment and make you feel like, yes, it is so good to be alive. You might also hear news about a raise around this time, and it's probably going to be news that you are happy with, my dear Capricorns. 27th of January until the 20th of February, Venus transits Pisces in your third house of communication and short distance travel and learning. Communication in general, especially with siblings, neighbors, colleagues, co-workers, is likely to be very pleasant, enjoyable, smooth, harmonious, all of that. Creative ideas are likely to flow into your life very easily throughout this period, Capricorns. If you need to take exams throughout this period, you do seem to have an advantage with Venus in this part of your chart. So I would definitely take advantage of this period. If you are taking any short distance trips, Capricorns, they may feel a little bit more magical than you thought they would. So kind of like weekends away, maybe going to kind of like another city. You might just feel like, I did not expect this to be so nice and beautiful. And you really seem to be enjoying learning and studying throughout this period, especially if you're doing this together with someone else, because let's not forget, Venus is, after all, the planet of relationships. I very much like, I told you this was a good month, I very much like the 30th of January. Additional good news connected with money, income. You might, I want to say that this is the time when you could kind of like make a significant payment financially, because you feel like, yeah, I got the money. Yes, I deserve this. Yes, I need to take care of this. And this is making my life easier. You could also pay for something health-wise, but something that really means a lot to you. I dare say that this could also be a time when you overcome some sort of crisis at work. You might just feel like you're finally seeing eye to eye with someone, and you might also see the path forward. It's like, yes, finally, we can move on with this project. I do believe that you may have some innovative solutions that you're coming up with at work on this day, 30th of January, maybe also the day before and the day after Capricorns, as Mercury is also going to trine Uranus. So those kind of like aha moments, that like epiphany that you're having around this time, I would definitely share it with coworkers, because they might just kind of like applaud you and say, yep, that's it. That's what we've been waiting for. My dear Aquarius, Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings, what does January 2023 have in store for you? Well, we gotta talk about the retrogrades. It is a month that starts slowly, right? So with Mercury being retrograde until the 18th of January, with Mars still being retrograde until the 12th of January, I would not necessarily expect the first month of 2023 to be like, okay, new beginning, all together, fresh start, da-da-da-da-da. Not exactly. It may feel like you're saving the fresh start, Aquarius, and especially on a personal level, for, I dare say, the new moon that is happening on the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, in your first house of identity, self-growth, self-development. The first house is the house of new beginnings. It may feel like around the 21st of January, you commit to a new goal for yourself. It may feel like you are discovering maybe a new side to yourself. It might also feel like this is the time when you are prepared to start working on something for you, not for others. To start working on something for you with patience, with persistence, for the long run. Something that maybe is also an activity that you enjoy, but that does require a high degree of commitment. Why? Because at the time of this new moon, Saturn will conjunct Venus in your first house. Venus is the ruler of your fourth house of home and of your ninth house of foreign lands, foreign countries, beliefs, academia. So this could be a time when you either commit to something on a personal level, something that you keep away from others in your own kind of like personal life. It could also be a time when you decide to start, for instance, learning something, when you start taking action in the direction of obtaining some sort of certification, or when you start working on some sort of higher education application, and so on. So I do believe that the fresh start is more likely to come around this new moon, Aquarius, because everyone goes into the new year thinking like, okay, clean slate, blank slate, all of that. Not really. The first part of the month, at least until Mercury goes out of retrograde, it might just feel like there's a lot of loose ends that are being tied up. I dare say that many of them successfully. So a lot of problems, old issues are probably going to get solved. You may have breakthroughs, you may have aha moments, you may hear back from people that you did not hear back from for a long time, even though you were expecting it. But I would postpone taking new action, initiating new projects until at least the new moon on the 21st of January, my dear Aquarius. Now, let's talk about the retrogrades, since I've been banging on about them. Mars, planet of action, is going direct, is going out of retrograde on the 12th of January in your 5th house of enjoyment, creative passions, hobbies, creative self-expression, children. If you've been having, especially if you have kids, if you've been having fights with kids, if your kids have been feeling much more like frustrated and angry, and if they've been throwing tantrums, and if it felt like you just couldn't get to them, or if you felt like they were going through this period of regression since Mars went into retrograde at the end of October, I have good news. And the good news is that after the 12th of January, it might just feel like, okay, finally, I can handle this. I know where this is coming from. It may feel like you are finally being on the same page. You're kind of like on the same page with them. You can reason with them, I dare say. Also, if you've been experiencing delays when it comes to a creative project, or if you've just been feeling uninspired, if, I don't know, let's say you've been working on a presentation for a long time and you were just like not there yet. You did not feel like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm aiming for. Mars going direct may determine you to feel as if you're making progress finally. And you might also know what is the direction in which you want to move with this project for the long run. Mars is also, for you Aquarius, the ruler of your let's see, the ruler of your 3rd house and of your 10th house of career. Okay, so at work, if you've been involved in a creative project, and if you just felt completely like flat and uninspired, or if you felt on the contrary quite angry with the direction in which this is headed because you weren't kind of like satisfied with your output, I do believe that Mars going out of retrograde is likely to bring that sense of, yes, finally, we are getting unstuck, I dare say. If you've been hanging out with someone romantically since Mars went into retrograde at the end of October, if you've been hanging out with someone romantically that you have been connected with in the past, that you maybe dated in the past, after Mars goes direct, you may see the whole thing a little bit more clearly. You may also kind of like change your mind. There's a possibility that you might say, nah, you know what? You're all good and fine and nice, but you're not actually what I want. There's a very high chance. There is a very high chance. Mercury is also retrograde at the same time, folks. So Mercury, the ruler of your 5th house of romantic love, is retrograde until the 18th of January. So even though you may kind of like change your mind about a romantic partner or about someone that you've been hanging out with, someone from your past, you might change your mind after the 12th of January, but you might not share this with them yet until Mercury goes out of retrograde on the 18th of January. So from the 18th of January onwards, you could be having doubts. You could be having kind of like second thoughts about your romantic life in general, all the way until the 18th of January. I do believe that it is important to not lie to yourself, Aquarius, throughout this period, to not see the things that you want to see in someone else, to also keep in mind that the people who you go out on dates with, or the people who you are interested in romantically, there is a chance that they might be hiding some stuff from you, and you might not know what it is until after Mercury goes out of retrograde in your 12th house. You could also feel like you want to hide something from them. That is certainly a possibility, and you might kind of like keep mum or like shush until the 18th, I believe. Speaking of Mercury retrograde, yes, Mercury is the ruler of your 5th house of romantic love, but it is also the ruler of your 8th house of psychological transformation. With Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, you could have like old, like recurring dreams until the 18th of January. Old fears might come back to your attention, old intrusive thoughts. Now, my big recommendation is to not pay too much attention to them. or to not take them very, very seriously, but rather to kind of like take a bit of a step back and say, okay, what is the common thread? Or why are these kind of like intrusive thoughts, maybe these anxieties, these like old dreams coming back into my life now? What is the common denominator? What was going on in my life the last time when I was experiencing these like intrusive thoughts or unkind thoughts, or these kind of like thoughts that made me doubt myself? And you might have a bit of an aha moment until the 18th of January as to how you have been sabotaging yourself, my dear Aquarius. I would be very careful what I put my money behind investments-wise with Mercury retrograde. Mercury is the ruler of your 8th house of investments. If something seems too good to be true, I do believe that it probably is. Of course, you're free to do with your money whatever you please, but I would just kind of like dig and investigate deeper with Mercury retrograde until the 18th of January before I make any sort of like payments or before I put my money behind something. There is also a possibility that old debts might come back to your attention, maybe stuff that you thought you had handled whilst Mercury is retrograde, all the way from the beginning of the month all the way until the 18th of January. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't pay them, or that doesn't mean that you won't have the money for them. You probably will, but you might not have seen them coming. That's a possibility. Now, let me take a bit of a step back and also share. I told you this is a good month. It is a good month, even though the retrogrades might make us feel like we're not really advancing just yet. From the 3rd of January until the 27th of January, Venus transits your first house of identity. I love this because this makes you super attractive, super magnetic. You might feel like you're very appreciated, Aquarius, maybe more so than in general. Venus is also the ruler of your 9th house, so this is actually a good time to maybe make plans to travel, possibly to places that you've been to already, because Mercury is retrograde throughout this period. If you do travel, it may feel like a very, very enjoyable experience overall, and you also seem to have a higher degree of appreciation for yourself throughout this period, which in return might attract the exact kind of energy from other people, I dare say. You might also be much more inclined towards maintaining harmonious relationships with Venus in your first house, because let's face it, I'm an Aquarius sun. I know what I'm talking about. We can be sometimes a little bit extreme. We can be like, no, this is how I see it, and this is the only way that works for me. Like, we're a fixed air sign. Like, when we believe something and when like we have a principle, oh God, like the Tower of London could crumble down and we would not give up on our beliefs and on our principles. So you might be a little bit more, diplomatic with Venus in your first house, and a little bit less extreme and a little bit more palatable for most people. 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after, there's a full moon activating your axis of service and day-to-day work. Good news coming from your job. There is a big emphasis, a big focus on your job. You might be getting a job offer. Some of you might leave a job just because there's something better coming up. Maybe because you're moving, maybe because there are some significant kind of like developments and shifts happening in your personal life. So you might, announce possibly your colleagues that you are, you're planning to get pregnant, or you are pregnant already and you're going to go into maternity leave. So kind of like a significant announcement being made at work, but definitely something that seems to sit very well with you. You could also complete very successfully a project at work. You might have a breakthrough at home and realize, okay, this is how I solve this. Definitely, this seems to be a time when you may also overcome, either you or a parent, either of you might overcome a health-related crisis. I'm liking the 8th of January. Good news coming, unexpected, but good news coming from the family side, or something that you did not see coming, maybe regarding, like movement, relocation, your living situation, something that takes you by surprise, but you're like, yes, let's do it. This is so exciting. So I'm liking the news. I also like the 9th of January, probably one of the most romantic days. I would definitely take advantage of it and go out on a date when Venus is trining Mars and Gemini in your 5th house. You are magnetic, you're having fabulous conversations with someone, you are on the same page. They really appreciate your mind, you appreciate their way of thinking, so it's just kind of like electrifying. The sun moves into your 1st house, so the spotlight is going to be on you from the 20th of January until the 18th of February. 27th of January until the 20th of February, Venus transits your 2nd house of income. Oh, I like this. You can make more money throughout this period. You can sign very lucrative deals throughout this period. Venus is also the ruler of the 9th house, so if you do travel, you may feel like it's money very well spent. It is a good time to actually spend money on traveling, education, academia, and stuff like that, but also on art or on beautiful things or on things that kind of like elevate your life and elevate maybe your connection with the senses, but also possibly elevate your connection with the divine. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe you want to invest in some sort of like eye-opening course or class. You do seem to like really attract money in your life throughout this period. And last but not least, I love the 30th of January just because it really feels like things are kind of like moving very rapidly in an exciting direction at home. So the good news seems to continue. The good but surprising news seems to continue in your private life, and you really feel confident in where you're headed next in life, Aquarius. Now, if you are a Pisces sun or a Pisces rising, what does January have in store for you? Well, I gotta put it out there, Pisceans. Venus, the planet of enjoyment, of pleasure, is going to be transiting your 12th house all the way until the 27th of January, from the 3rd of January until the 27th of January. Venus for you is also the ruler of your 3rd house of communication, of the rational mind, and of the 8th house of intimacy. My lovely Pisceans, from the 3rd of January until the 27th, I would recommend taking some time off, maybe kind of like dashing off with your romantic partner for like a cozy weekend away to the spa, and it could feel like the relationship is being strengthened. The bond is kind of like much deeper between the two of you. When Venus transits the 12th house, it is generally a good time to enjoy some rest and relaxation. You might also feel like you are kind of like letting go throughout this period. You're releasing, and it feels easy to do so. Something that has been causing maybe crisis in your life, something that has been kind of like a point of like really feeling tense and really feeling like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do with this? So you might kind of like feel relaxed about this whole thing, my dear Pisces, and it might just feel like you're ready to surrender something that has been impacting negatively maybe your mental health. So I'm liking this transit. I'm also liking the fact that Venus is moving through your 1st house of identity from the 27th of January until the 20th of February. Venus in Pisces is exalted. This is a great time to buy new clothes, to get a change of like, I don't know, like your look, to get like beauty procedures done, to also, I want to say, get involved in any and all creative projects. Of course, Pisceans do have kind of like a special connection with the imagination and with the artistic world. So you could be feeling incredibly inspired throughout this period. And you may want to write your ideas down, because Venus is also the ruler of your 3rd house of communication and writing. You might also be feeling very kind of like loved and attractive and magnetic, and people are kind of like gravitating towards you, and they are likely to say yes to you, Pisces, whatever it is that you're asking for when Venus is in your first house. If we go a little bit back in time, however, I gave you some like really good news for January. I do have some news that I want you to be prepared for. Mercury is retrograde, okay? So now we know the beginning of the year generally like kicks off like with a Mercury retrograde, so no fresh start just yet in the first part of the month. Mercury is the ruler of your 4th house of home and of your 7th house of relationships, and it's going to be retrograde in your 11th house until the 18th until the 18th of January. So until the 18th of January, it may feel like you need to reevaluate possibly, and you might not necessarily feel like you can move forward. You might need to reevaluate some of the plans, some of the long-term goals and plans that you had together with your partner. Maybe when it came to matters connected with home, living situation, family life, and so on. It is a very good time to reconnect with old friends when Mercury is retrograde in your 11th house. If you have been, I don't know, a little bit confused as to what goals to set for yourself, or if you felt like, oh, I'm doubting these goals, I'm doubting these plans, I don't know if this is right for me. I do believe that things are likely to become clearer after the 18th of January. So from the 18th of January onwards. It might be a good idea, however, in order to take advantage of this period, to get back together with old colleagues, old friends, and maybe to talk things out. Maybe also to kind of have conversations that in the past have been challenging with family members, my dear Pisces, because Mercury is also the ruler of your 4th house of home. And with Mars in retrograde in your 4th house of home, from the end of October until the 12th of January, you might have had some arguments, some conflicts, some recurring issues with family members. That is likely to get easier, and that is likely... The situation is likely to get better, essentially, after Mars goes out of retrograde on the 12th of January. So as people are kind of calming down and chilling a little bit and not feeling so frustrated and annoyed and reactive in your home and family life, from the 12th of January onwards, it could be a good idea to say, okay, so we've talked about this thing last month. I know that it hit kind of like a sore spot for you. Let's revisit the subject. And it could be a good idea to do that between the 12th, 13th of January until the 18th, 19th of January. Just putting it out there. If stuff has been kind of experiencing all sorts of issues around the house, maybe electronics, gadgets. If you've had to fix something repeatedly around the house from the end of October with Mars retrograde, I dare say that you're probably finally done once Mars goes direct on the 12th of January. If I take a little bit of a step back in time, my dear Pisces, I want to put another key date on your radar. Let's see. The 6th of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. There's a full moon activating your 5th house of romantic love, enjoyment, and your 11th house of friends. A full moon in Cancer, very nicely aspected to Uranus and Taurus. Okay, so this is a very, very good time to get together with friends, with old friends, to reconnect with an old community, to go out, to have fun, to enjoy yourselves, and maybe also to talk business, to talk about long-term projects, to talk about projects that maybe have been postponed. A lot of people could come together around this time, including you, with innovative ideas, with out-of-the-box ideas that really help you as a team to move forward with significant projects that you've been working on together. I do believe that this could also be a period of good news, especially for Pisces risings, when it comes to the area of children. So maybe there's some positive news around your child being accepted in an education program. Maybe there's some positive news coming up connected with a child getting a high grade, a high mark on one of their exams. Speaking of exams in general, if you were waiting for results on exams, either for a kid, for a child, or for you, you're probably going to get a positive, a really, really good result around the 6th of January. I'd also say that this can be a time when you are finalizing, even though you might have felt like this was giving you headaches. You're finalizing maybe a creative project, like a play or something along those lines. You have that aha moment, and things are coming together, my dear Pisces. I'm also liking the 8th of January because this could be a time when you accidentally bump into someone in your circle of friends, when you're going out, when you're attending a group type of event, you accidentally bump into someone that is perfect for kind of like an issue that you needed to get solved in a practical manner, connected with either your house, your living situation, or with your relationship sector. So I'm liking this day very much. I also like the 9th of January. I told you that January is a good month. I told you. I like the 9th of January because this can be a very romantic day. So maybe Venus is trining Mars in Gemini in your 4th house. Maybe this is a time when a partner kind of like has like a nice dinner prepared for you at home, or when you feel like, you know what, let's get together in our bubble, let's escape from the maddening crowd, and let's just kind of like enjoy each other's presence. Speaking of enjoying each other's presence, I do believe that the conversations that you're having on this day are really stimulating, very enjoyable. It feels like your mind is on fire. It feels like you've got great chemistry with someone, even if this person wasn't necessarily a romantic partner, my dear Pisces. 18th of January, something might come to the surface in regards to one of your friends, or in regards to one of the groups of people that you are a part of. Maybe something that has been kind of like a little bit in the dark, something that hasn't been very visible. So a friend could expose a secret. A friend could say, I've been holding this secret from the rest of you, but alas, now is the time for me to reveal it. It could be a big reveal. You could also hear something finally that you've been like waiting for in terms of news about the future of a project work-wise. This could also be a time when a colleague announces, you know what, I am leaving, I am done, I've got something new on the horizon. Very possibly, very possibly. 20th of January until the 18th of February, the sun transits through your 12th house. I do believe, my dear Pisces, that there's still some stuff to process in the when it comes to your shadow side, and you might process a little bit of this as the sun moves through your 12th house. What am I talking about here? You might process something that is coming to an end work-wise, but that you have not been very keen to think about throughout this period, or maybe it's been something that's been going on in the background, but now it feels like, okay, finally I need to face this. There's also a feeling of maybe realizing how your mental health has been impacting your physical wellness and well-being, and you could have some aha moments, especially around the 21st of January, 3 days before, 3 days after. You could have some aha moments as to how you have been sabotaging yourself health-wise, physically, by maybe engaging in some like self-destructive habits, or by doing stuff that was really putting a lot of stress and pressure on your emotional self, on your mind, and your body was suffering as a result. 21st of January is a new moon in your 12th house. You could commit to a new, let's say, program, to a new goal when it comes to your mental health. You might say, okay, this is something that I'm going to do day in and day out. You might introduce a new spiritual or mental health related habit into your day-to-day moving forward. And it's probably not something that you're going to shout out from the rooftops to the outside world about. You could keep this very much to yourself, but you may feel like, okay, I need to do something about this, and I need to commit to this course of action so that my internal world, internal state of being gets better. And as a result of that, my physical health improves as well. 30th of January is a day that I really, really like. Also the day before and the day after, because it does feel like you have a bit of an epiphany connected with your past, connected with your home and family life, in terms of you having engaged in habits that you somehow inherited from the family side, and you may be realizing, okay, I don't need to do this, or this is not a must for me moving forward. And also a very nice day to go out, to have fun with friends, and also to kind of like listen for like good ideas from them, because they might give you some like really like insightful nuggets that can help you in a work-related project. Folks, please let us know how January goes for you. If you are also on Instagram, you can follow me on my handle at @ruxunbelievable on Insta. And if you want to work with me, my website is writteninthestars-astrology.com. Enjoy the first month of 2023.